And we're live. Hello, comics and pop culture people. It's your friend Brian, aka Bigby McFly, and we're hanging out today with Mr. Akins
Hello,
from
everybody.
What's on the
Mr.
Comic
Akins.
Rack. I was like, in the title, I was like going to put "What's on the Comic Rack." So I got to turn that off, or we're going to hear echo. So what we're doing. There we go. That's not the first time I've done that. Trying to read the chat on my computer, and I have the audio playing of the stream at the same time. So it looks like right now there's one person watching, which I'm not sure if that's going to be me and you or if that's somebody else. But if you're in the room, shout out, say hey. Yeah, Mr. Akins and I have been talking and saying that it would be fun to get together and share some books and chat about comics. I mean, we've chatted, but never face to face. It's always been delayed, my. Although I think when you posted your last video, I think I responded like 4 minutes after you posted your video or something.
Yeah, you were going to put "What's on the Comic Rack," but I think that was too long of a title, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I put Mr. Akins, and then in the description I put from What's on the Comic Rack, Mr. Akins from What's on the Comic Rack. But in the thumbnail it does say hanging out with What's on the Comic Rack. So okay. I don't know if you got a chance to see the thumbnail. I think you would approve though.
No, I haven't. I just got back from eating. Just like
so
I
the
think
thumbnail was Iron Man #1. I was like, well, that's appropriate for Mr. Akins. So.
Did you? I don't know if you watch Manhunter Comics, but he just did a video about comics key comics he doesn't care about, or key comics he's not sure why they're keys. And he was talking about that one in particular. That was like his #1 of.
It's not really it's kind of like Avengers #1. It's not really a first appearance. It doesn't have any significance other than it is the first ongoing issue of Iron Man as its own title. So I mean, I can see that some people there's been people in the past who have expressed concerns over the validity of the value of Avengers #1 because of that. So
well, I think it's, and I commented back to him and I said, I think it's probably the reason it keeps going up, because when I wanted one, it kept ticking up. This was after the boom and I was waiting for it to come down, finally come down. And I said, at some point in time, it's got to come down. What kept ticking up and ticking up and ticking up? And I think the reason why is if you're an Iron Man fan, you're kind of priced out of a Tales of Suspense #39. And so what's your second choice? Well, it will be an Iron Man #1, I think. And that's the reason it's slowly ticking up. You can still find them on eBay. You can go, oh, I want one. Well, you can find one easily on eBay and they're affordable. You can.
Yeah. Like I think mine, the one that I picked up is it's a 6.5 to a 7. And I paid, what did I pay for this? 400, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good grade for what I paid.
Yes.
But but it's starting to creep up there too.
We got John's Comics with Kids.
Yeah. Just today's Mr. Shout Out today. I did my latest comic book shout out, and John was the recipient of my, I don't know what we'll say.
Your shout out.
My accolades. There we go. My shouting outedness. I don't know.
That raw Iron Man, where did you get that raw Iron Man from?
I got it from West Coast Avengers. And he has a claim sale like every Wednesday. And he has some pretty good books on there.
I saw that when I saw the whole video with you talking with Obito, and you were talking to that's where you got those X-Men. I know why you wanted me on the one last time. You wanted me to drool over all your Uncanny X-Men,
all the John Byrne issues. Yeah, there was one where I actually said, and if Mr. Akins is watching, there's the first John Byrne on X-Men. Yeah,
exactly.
So John said, thanks for the shout out. You are most welcome, sir. In fact, John, you are most welcome to join us if you want. I can send you a link. Go ahead and do that just in case. You don't have to hang. No pressure, man.
No pressure at all. Do you
Are
buy
you-
a
Oh, go ahead.
lot of keys like that raw online? I know you know Dave, West Coast Dave Avenger, so you know what you're getting from him.
Yeah,
But
that's kind of the. I'm very. So I think I've only done a unboxing video from Dave, and I need to do kind of a video for all the books I've been accruing. But the when he says I'm on in my car on my phone waiting for Charlie's soccer practice and not sure my battery would last. Well, if you like mysteriously disappeared, we would know why. It'd just be like in mid sentence, John be like, and the most important thing I have to tell you is always remember to. uh, yeah, so no, I don't buy a lot of books online. I don't trust a lot of online sellers. I prefer to purchase books in person. But
yes.
I don't know if you saw the episode where I actually drove up and met Dave at his house to pick up a lot of the books that I got from him because I just didn't want to
Okay.
have, thousands and thousands of dollars in books in the mail.
And I too also have a hard time buying stuff raw. I really have only bought things off of eBay. I hear everybody, the kids these days are doing the whatnot. I've never used whatnot or anything like that, but
So what I hear about Whatnot is that you get a lot of times you'll get a great book, but it won't be in the condition you're expecting. That the Whatnot guys aren't real accurate with their descriptions as far as. But if you find a good seller, I know Bronzeville Comics Jim. I'm sure he would be super accurate with his description of what you're getting. He's really good at his grading, so I wouldn't be afraid of buying from him. But and he does Whatnot, so
Okay. Because I know that I don't usually, I mean, I have bought some things raw off of eBay, but like you said, I love going and actually, like you said, being able to look at the book and go, okay, this is what I'm planning on buying here instead of
right,
trying to go
right.
by the pictures because I'll do videos and I'll hold up a book and I'm like, I'm looking at the video and I'm looking at the book and I'm like, that book don't look that good. It looks way better.
Oh yeah, video or camera. Yeah, just seeing things on camera, they look a lot better than they do in person for sure.
And you put a book in Mylar and it's like magic. It's like, wow, that book looks really good.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so just I watched probably 20 uh sales with Dave Enders before I decided to jump in and buy a few books. And that's
Uh-huh.
another thing. Like I'm, call me old fashioned, but I haven't been way back in the day when I had my stores. Um, I would buy and sell online, and I had PayPal and all that. But after I got done with that, and was out of the loop. I got rid of my PayPal account, and I was just like, it's either I can't pick it up and look at it and pay for it with cash. I don't need it.
Yeah.
And then I had to get all that electronic payment stuff set up again so I could start buying online. So
John's comic says Mylar magic is a real deal.
it
It is.
even in person, it is the real deal. Like
You're
if
right.
you put a book in Mylar and hand it to somebody, it looks way better than if it was in a standard bag. So
I had somebody at work and he said he had some comics and he brought them in. It wasn't anything that was expensive or anything. And of course, I brought bags, I brought boards because they weren't in bags and boards, and I boarded all his stuff for him. And
right.
he's like, "Wow, this stuff looks really good." I said, "Yeah, these boards in a brand new fresh bag will make something look really nice."
Yeah, for sure. Even if it's been kind of neglected and trashed on over the years, it'll look a lot better when you sleeve it up for sure. Yeah, so you were saying, so I'll give everybody behind the scenes. So Mr. Akins gets this weird thing going on with his phone where it's like I was calling him on Instagram to see if he wanted to hang out. And he's like, I don't believe I've ever had a phone call on Instagram.
Nope. Very first phone call on Instagram.
It's a lot easier. You don't have to have phone numbers or anything. You just get the little phone icon, right? I mean,
That's true. It is very nice. It's the first time I've used Instagram. I'm used to using Google Meets, Zoom, all those other types of things.
yeah.
But I've
This
never
is
used.
StreamYard. StreamYard seems to be what everybody really likes for YouTube. So,
Yeah.
and it's free. So,
And that's the thing. Every time I see somebody doing a live, I see the little duck up there with StreamYard, and I'm like, okay, is this some kind of, I guess, and I figured it was something like Google Meets, things like that. So,
yeah.
and
It's
just,
it'll sync up with your different platforms that you're on, and so you set up we'll let everybody else here know too. You set up the show ahead of time, put in your thumbnail and everything, and it'll go ahead and sync it up to the channel that you're going to broadcast to.
Okay. See, learning something new every day. All this stuff is a learning experience. Even for me with the comics, I was watching both you and Comic Collector Geek and Obito Comics, and I'm always amazed at the amount of knowledge y'all have about comics. Especially with Alan. Alan just pick up something. Oh, well, here's what this is. Here's what this is. And a lot of times I have to do some research on some things. I never was. I think I would be a collector for the past really 3 years. Really, I just bought comics, read them, put them in a box, and then maybe would read them again, a little bit. But I really didn't start collecting till like when the pandemic kind of hit. And I started watching.
So you weren't like a serious collector. You were a casual reader before that.
I was really just a reader. I mean, it really was. Hey, I had no idea the value of things. I was like, oh, I would look at some of the old. If I was going to buy something, it was because I wanted to read the story. It wasn't, or I like John Byrne, and I'm gonna go pick up some, some copies of something. In fact, I'm also a big Jack Kirby fan. And I've only been to 2 conventions in my entire life, and one of them was primarily a gaming convention. Had some they had some comics there, but I went to one specifically, and I was like looking through because they had tons and tons of boxes, and I'm like, I know what I want. This Eternal series that Jack Kirby did. Let's see how much those are. And I was looking through them. Each one of them was like 30 cents. I'm like, oh, great. I can get this whole run, because it wasn't that I thought the Eternals were going to be worth anything. It's because I like Jack Kirby. I loved his art, and I, just got the whole run. So I was just a primary reader, not really a collector. Bagging and boarding was something that you did to just store your comics.
Right. No, that's a great deal on those Eternals books. I mean,
yeah, I got them basically for cost. I think they were like 35 cents, a piece.
Yeah. That's right. There you go. Yeah, that's a sweet deal. So you seem to be pretty knowledgeable, considering that you just jumped into the hobby during that time period. I mean, a lot of the things you talk about, you seem to be pretty well versed in the lore and the artists and whatnot.
Well, and the thing is, I know about the artist. I think I liked. If I liked an artist, I would know specifically their Bronze Age and their Copper Age stuff. When I got, I'm a teacher actually, and you go through phases of when you collect, when you kind of stop collecting. And I really stopped when I started my job. I realized that you would think a teacher, oh, they have all summer off and they got plenty of time. I found out that consumed a lot of my time. And that's when I had my first break, about 1998. Up until then, I was just, I was buying, had a lot of comics, and everything I really bought was off the rack except for those Eternals that time I went to that convention. And so, I just pick up everything off the rack. And then I would collect a little bit here and there, and then when the pandemic hit, I started, and I think most of my knowledge has come from watching YouTube and watching people and listening to what they say, looking at comics. You know, I had no idea about the grading system, about CGC, any of that stuff. I didn't even know that stuff existed till really about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So watching a lot of these channels, I would, instead of watching TV when I would come in from work, that's what I was doing. I was watching YouTube. I was just watching YouTube, and
that's what I don't watch other stuff. I actually caught myself. I almost missed Secret Invasion this week because I'm like, I come in, I turn on YouTube when I come in, and I watch different, the different people that I'm following, and the people that I started following through the shout outs and all of that stuff. So I mean, it's a thing. I have it on my TV, YouTube, and I just start watching.
Exactly. When you first started watching YouTube, what were you watching? What got you to watching YouTube? Was it comics?
I want to say, so I wasn't really big into watching a lot of stuff about comics on YouTube until during the beginning of the pandemic. I started to see stuff spiking, and at that time I didn't even have a collection. I've gone through some trials and tribulations and whatnot where I had to sell everything. I sold my 2 stores, and then I had a pretty nice collection, and then had some financial hardship where I had to sell my whole collection, including a super high grade copy of X-Men #1 that I had just acquired. Had to sell everything I had to get out of a jam. And so I was just done, and I started watching and seeing that things were kind of spiking. And you mentioned a gaming convention, so I was and I wanted to ask, I don't want to forget to ask you, I saw in one of your videos where you're flipping through Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I was like, does Mr. Akins play Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, I was trying to imitate people and what they do. And where'd you get that? I don't know where he got that music from, but it's extremely distinctive, and his voice is so distinctive. And when that piano music comes on and his voice comes on, you're on his channel. And so, and he always has cards. And so I'm like, okay, let me see if I can find some cards laying around. Well, we host foreign exchange students. And years and years ago, one of our foreign exchange students had bought those, and they're sitting in the drawer back there. I have no clue if they're worth anything, what they even are. I was
curious.
Yeah, I just
we got an incoming guest. You asked for it, you requested it, because you demanded it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the comic collector geek.
Hey.
Alan.
I can't miss one of these opportunities to hang out with my good friend Bigby. So,
are you familiar with Mr. Akins? What's on the comic rack?
Of course I am. He's pretty good. He responds to my challenges.
That's right. That's right.
I try to. The pet challenge was a little bit challenging, more so than I thought.
I was surprised. Like, I saw your video on that where you only showed 5. I was like, oh, I didn't think it was that challenging. I didn't think it was going to be that much of a problem for you. So,
yeah, some of the ones you've had, I've been like, I really struggled with some of the ones that I've been a part of. I was like, I'll start digging, and I'm digging, and I'm like, screw it, I give up.
I was actually about to record the one for this week.
Well, see, and the last one, I haven't done it yet because it was Canadian artists, and I'm like, I guess I could do Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, just do Todd McFarlane and John Byrne.
You said y'all considered John Byrne a Canadian artist, but I thought he was born in England.
That's what I thought too.
And immigrated to Canada. His family immigrated to Canada.
Well, I've always heard he was a Canadian, because that's why he wanted to do Alpha Flight, and that's why he was so into Wolverine, and he actually demanded that they have Wolverine on that team when they did Giant Size X, or when they did he had some input, I guess, into having Wolverine on the team.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't consider him Canadian because he wasn't born here. Yeah.
And that was the reason I was like, because
a
if it was
damn
John Byrne,
immigrant.
I'd be
No,
like, so this is easy. You know, I can do 1,000 John Byrne comics.
So,
Yeah.
so if I moved up there, Alan, I would never be Canadian.
Never. No,
Never.
I'm just
Yeah,
messing
that
with
was that. The I'm a real American is I'm a real Canadian. I am a real Canadian.
Yeah. Actually, my dad and my mom were both not born in Canada.
Oh,
So
there you
But-
go.
my dad was a war baby. Like my grandfather went over to fight in England, and then my grandmother went with him, and then my dad was born there, and my mother's American. So
See?
yeah, so
You're a
I'm a
mongrel.
first generation Canadian, but also my family's been in Canada for like 300 years, so it's weird.
You're a mix.
Yeah, I'm a mixed
American
baby.
and Canadian.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
good to have you here. So, so Mr. Akins said he actually brought a couple comics that he wanted to show to get your
Right.
opinion on them.
Well, especially since Alan is so knowledgeable about things. I was telling him that I was watching y'all on with Obito, and I'm always impressed at y'all's knowledge. Like you can pick up a book and go, oh, well, here's this, and I seem to have to do some research. I'm like, I'm going to show this comic, but I'm going to spend 2 hours looking up stuff about this comic other than just showing it and and throwing it off. So, what is actually considered a good girl cover? Like, would this? Let me get the camera. Would this be a good girl cover?
Probably not. Can you make?
Let me make it big.
Because
There we
like you're
go.
really small in mine, so it's like.
So you got Storm there, kind of in the bikini.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Storm at first because like when you were small, it wasn't there. I would probably classify that as like a good girl cover just because of Storm.
Yeah,
and
I
her
would
being
say so.
sexy. Like,
Right.
yeah, but normally a good girl art cover is more like I can show you a couple examples. I can grab a few if you
Right,
want.
I'm gonna go ahead and take you off the spotlight off of you there, buddy.
I'll grab just a couple.
And we'll put the spotlight on Alan's. We'll put it on
Okay,
Alan's
so
butt. There we go.
here's like buddies. It's like a military one.
I'm putting you on the spotlight here. There we go.
So that see how the focus is on the girl.
Okay.
Okay, and then here's another buddy. So I have two put together. I was being lazy. So it's like kind of a little bit innocent, a little bit sexy.
Those are bosom buddies.
Okay.
Okay, and then here's another one, another good girl art cover.
Yeah, I remember you showing the Patsy Walker one.
Yeah, I just
And
had
love
it handy,
see-
so that's why I grabbed it.
I love the information you gave us about Patsy Walker number 106 is the first time you've got a corner box.
Yes,
I
that's
love
right.
corner box art. I'm like, I just love corner box. So looking at that little art in the corner box and who does it. And now it made me want to go out and get a Patsy Walker number 106 because that's the first comic that has corner box art.
Yeah. So that's it's a cool book. Here's another what I would consider good girl art.
Now that's an homage to
House of Secrets. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is that?
This is the Comic Tom exclusive.
Okay.
So
I
it's
just
a
thought it was such a
reprint,
great
right?
exclusive that
Or it's not
it's
a
like-
reprint. What's they called? They're called what are they
like
called?
an homage or like some kind of.
Yeah,
No, it's not it. What did they do? They just did the Ultimate Fallout 4 a little while ago as a
Yeah,
what is it?
I'm not
What's the
sure
word I'm looking
what's
for?
inside of this one. I think it's actually a reprint of the House of Secrets. I'm not sure.
See, I start watching people's channels and it's almost like one big long commercial for comic books. They're like showing me comics and then I go, I want that one. Yeah, I want that one. That's it's almost like one big long commercial.
Here, I'll show you another kind of cool, good, like what I consider good girl. This is a good girl art cover, but it's also kind of like, a shocking,
Right.
kind of crazy one as well. Like,
Well, see, I didn't know if it was just limited to say romance comics or
probably a lot of these kind of things most people think of as being good girl art kind of comics.
Right.
These humor. So
This is
a
pretty
friend of
much an
mine's,
attractive woman, right? Any cover that has an attractive woman on the
yeah,
cover.
really, it's become very loosely based, but really what happened was after the Second World War, okay, superheroes kind of fell out of favor because what happened was people kind of associated the superheroes with the war, because like a lot of the superheroes, they went full force with having them fighting Hitler and fighting the Nazis and fighting the Germans, and that became kind of almost a negative thing after the war because people kind of wanted to move on, right?
Move on, exactly.
And so what they did was they came out with a bunch of female characters, female heroes, even like Lady Luck, Phantom Lady was kind of re-brought back. And then there was a bunch of these female characters, but then they also came out with Good Girl art comics, which were more humor, more lighthearted, and this kind of style, like this kind of stuff. This, like the ones I can think of, like are Tests, Test the Typist, and what's some other ones? Like Archie had a lot of stuff, right? With Good Girl.
I think I may have one to show now. If you want to
Yeah,
show,
so
go back to me.
let me see if, go back to.
I'm going. All right.
Yeah, Patsy and Hetty. Yeah, that's a really great Good Girl art cover. Actually.
Okay.
And that's
That would
Patsy
be
Walker,
Silver
right?
Age, but yeah, but the era that I was talking about is more like 1947 to 1949. Okay, really short period where it was like the thing was Good Girl arts.
What about the art, the kind of covers that are coming out now where the character is prominent?
I would still consider like what you showed there, Good Girl art, and also the modern stuff as Good Girl art too.
Like, would this be considered Good Girl?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's like a low.
That's a beautiful cover.
Yeah, once I saw this, I was convinced that this
Warren
was
Lau or
Alex Ross
right?
art.
It's
And
Warren Lau, right?
It's what?
Warren Lau?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. And once I saw it, I'm like, "Ooh, I gotta have that. I've got to have that." It's like one of my favorite covers. They have a Virgin variant where it doesn't have the trade dress in the back, but I kind of like it in the background. And
yeah, I like it too. Actually, I prefer when there's a bit of the trade dress, just because I like to know what the issue number is, and I kind of like that. It almost has a bit of framing when you have a bit of the trade.
Well, it
dress.
kind of makes her pop a little more with that action in the background. I mean, you can't even really read action, but you know what it is because of the framing.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay,
really nice. That's a great cover.
Yeah, I love that cover. Once I saw it,
book.
I knew I had to have it. I like it was like an exclusive at one of the cons or something, and some kind of trade dress, and I kept seeing it on eBay, and I was like, I'll wait for one to come into an auction, and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting. I finally got one in an auction, and I got it for what I wanted to get it for, and I'm like, okay, I got it. Now I'm done.
I'm a big fan of Power Girl, and I love the story behind her. I'm not sure if you know the story behind her and her boobs.
About Wally Wood.
Yeah. I love that. That's so great.
I love that too.
Well, share it with everybody else. Share with the class.
So Wally Wood was sort of relegated to doing Power Girl, and Wally Wood was like this guy who was like the hot EC artist. He was like, he would have like fans writing in, and he was, hot stuff, right? But then he got put on this title that he wasn't really keen to be put on, which was Power Girl. Okay. And so what happened was he was like, okay, I'm going to get them to notice me, And so what he did was each issue, he gradually made her boobs bigger, just each issue, and tell the editor was like, notice. something's weird there. Something's not quite right. So that's the story behind why
he kept doing it, making them bigger and bigger. He said, I'm going to keep doing this until somebody says something.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. So, well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, it's great. So, but they actually played into it. They put the box in, and they also, had her like say that, she accentuates her boobs because of the fact that it's a distraction. She uses it. Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Hi, Manny.
Hey, Manny.
Hey, Manny.
Good to see you, buddy. Manny, the Hobgoblin collector. Manny has enlightened me on a lot of Spider-Man stories and Hobgoblin related characters that I didn't know what was going on with them, and so we've had a little side chats behind the scenes about things. He's a good guy.
I always think it's interesting when there's like because I'm such a broad collector, like I collect pretty much everything. I like these kind of niche collectors, like that really like they're like the person for
Sleepy Reader.
whatever it
Hey,
is.
you guys haven't checked out Sleepy Reader's channel? You guys need to do that. He's also a collector of original artwork and a lot of really cool books. There's a video he had not too long ago where he was showing off a segment of his collection, which is just really great old Sal Buscema Conan stuff, and it's just, well, not just Sal Buscema, but some cool stuff for sure.
Wow.
But you were saying you like those niche collectors because.
Oh yeah, I just think it's interesting. Like I like the idea. Like I'm sort of a jack of trades kind of guy, rather than, there's jack of trades where you're not really good at anything. Like you're just sort of mediocre at everything, rather than being.
That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm mediocre at everything.
we were going over my job history earlier, and I kind of sounded like that.
So I really respect
Brian
people
LCS.
very focused.
Good evening.
The luckiest
There
man
you guys-
in the comic book community, Brian from LCS.
Well,
Yeah, the man behind the CBC awards. We're not going to say awards. awards.
awards. Yeah, CBC awards. So yeah, but actually I nominated a couple. Like I nominated you, Big B. Sorry, I didn't nominate you, Common Crack. Sorry, I should have.
That's okay.
I was actually thinking, oh wait, I should really use up all. Like I didn't even use up all the slots like that I had.
I made a list. You know me. I'm sitting there making a list, and I'm racking my brains trying to find somebody to fit in each one of them. And I would watch somebody had done their nominations live, so I got some ideas from them, wrote those down, and that kind of thing. And I finally filled it out where it filled out somebody in every single slot. So,
oh, that's really good. That's what we should do as good community members.
Yeah, 22 Comics had a really good video. 22 Comics had his alternates, like, hey, this is kind of the obvious one that you might pick, but then for a little diversity, you might want to try to pick, one of these other guys. And he was taking suggestions from people. We had a live show where he was taking suggestions from other people to see who they thought fit each category. But yeah, I put you down, Alan, for best unboxings.
Okay, cool,
So,
cool.
I think that's what I put. I think that's what I put Alan down for as well.
Cool. That's my goal. I want to win this year. I just want to win. How many people do I have to bribe?
You and your winner's streak, right? Or your non-winners streak.
I never win. I go on these like comic battles and stuff, and I always lose. I'm like the worst. My collection sucks. I don't know. I gotta.
Your collection sucks? No, I don't think that's it.
No.
So yeah.
Brian says, "Thank you guys for submitting your nominations." So.
I think what he's done, by the way, Brian, with that whole award thing is really awesome. Actually, I think it's good.
Yeah.
It's like we needed that.
Yeah, it was. Somebody had asked me, they're like, so this whole comic book shout out thing, that was because of the CBCA thing, right? And I was like, I had no idea when I started the comic book shout out that was even a thing, that it was part of the CBCA. Yeah, I was just like, I just did it because I thought it was something that needed to be done. So,
yeah, I think I was telling somebody else. I was talking to Mon Comics. I actually interviewed both Obito and Mon Comics like yesterday.
Oh, you got them down for interviews?
Yeah,
nice.
I did both interviews. Got them done. By the way, Comic Rack, you're also invited. I'll interview you.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, and basically I was talking to Mon Comics about the shout outs. And like I had done a few in the past, like before like I knew you, Brian. And I never formalized it though. And I think what you did was added that extra formalization of putting the hashtag, making it something where you kind of get people more involved. I think that was really good. Like I felt like, I was like, kind of talking, giving you praises for, that.
Oh, I
that whole
appreciate that.
thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it to where there was a little bit of incentive. I mean, it's not a huge incentive for my artwork, but there's I think that when you guys get to see, well, you've actually got a sneak peek at it, haven't you, Alan, the artwork?
Yeah. I thought all the artwork that I saw was awesome. I didn't see the other side though, the other guy's artwork. What's his name?
Travis. Yeah, he's
Travis,
still working on his. I'm not sure. I know Romuald wanted either Daredevil or Daredevil, the Hulk, and Silver Surfer. I'm not sure where Travis is one of those guys, like when he goes into a project, he'll get an idea and he told me, like, Travis, it's a sketch, and he's like, no, I have this idea with color and all this other. I'm like, he's gonna do like a painted cover for this guy, for his sketch.
It's gonna be awesome. So if I'm gonna win one of these shout out things, I have to get Travis to do mine then.
Oh,
just so I can get color.
Or you can get it from me and get it in a timely manner.
So yeah. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I actually was happy that Romeo won because he gives so much stuff. That guy. Did you ever watch his channel?
Amazing. Yeah.
He gives so much stuff. I'm like, I've won twice his little giveaways.
He's putting the little tickets in. He's like Big B McFly, and I'm like, I never get pulled.
Yeah, I like so yeah, but I always feel guilty.
Thank you, Brian.
It's like I feel like he needs to win something too sometime, but so I'm glad he won. Yeah.
Oh man, he says he's just starting to see some of my work. There's a lot of my artwork on Instagram. If you go to the bottom of the page of all my posts, there's like my sequential artwork tryout for DC that I did back in the day, with some Batman pages and whatnot. No, actually, my sketchbook right here is my. This was for Between the Lines on Roscoe's channel. Actually, I'm gonna make myself big here.
The Homelander one.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 4th of July. So the theme was fireworks and flags. So
yeah, it's really nice.
Blowing that guy's face off. One says 4th of July, like, blowing a body part off, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Laser beam eyes to.
All right, let's get out of the solo there.
So, Brian, did you do much inking like in the day, or like I know you mentioned that you inked some of Travis's work in the past, right?
No, Travis inked some of my stuff. Oh yeah, man, he did a nuke sketch on that show. That's true. Travis would ink my stuff back in the day. I was always
a penciler,
very timid with the pencil. I didn't want to. Ink scared me because it's permanent, right? Now you can do it digitally, and I ink digitally now because I can undo. I can click undo, and it fixes it. So yeah, now I do all my inking digitally. But back in the day, no, I did it all.
I forgot what movie it was where there's a Ben Affleck movie where he's chasing Amy. I think it is.
Mallrats, or is it Mallrats or Chasing Amy? Where he's
an inker. I think he's an inker.
You're a tracer.
Yeah, you're a tracer.
He's like, I add shading and definition. He's like, you're a tracer.
I always thought that was funny. I thought that was really great. Like totally like looking down on that whole industry.
There was a company I did a story for a company, and actually, Alan, I keep thinking I need to tell you about this. So there was a horror anthology magazine that I was doing a cover for, and the owner of the company was local, but since sold the company, and now they do a lot of good girl covers or good girl horror themed covers. What was the name? Dark Discoveries is the name of the magazine.
Oh, okay.
but I was telling him he wanted to do a comic. He wanted to do a comic book themed issue, and he wanted me to do a comic in it. And so he got a script from this guy, and the script was for like a 20-page story. And he's like, "Yeah, I need you to condense this story down to 8 pages."
Oh wow.
And I'm like, "Does the writer know you're having me do this?" He's like, "No, just chop out whatever you need to."
Oh wow, that's terrible.
And so then he's like, "So I can pay you for the artwork, but and I'm like, well, so who's going to do the inking?" He's like, "What's inking?" I was like,
Oh my goodness.
okay. I said, "Who's going to do the lettering?" He's like, "You mean that's not part of the page? Like when I pay you for the page, it should be the penciling, the inking, the lettering." I'm like, no, these are all separate jobs that get paid.
Yeah,
And I think by the time that I got done, because then I would do the artwork and he would say, "Oh, we've revised this theme and we want to change a little bit on the." So I think I did like something like 20 different revisions on the thing. I think I ended up making like 25 cents an hour on the project.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's why I think, digital is the way, that everyone's going with everything nowadays. It's just, you can make those kind of things and just, you can put in the letters, like even, I think a lot of the time that they're doing lettering nowadays, it's digital.
Have you seen some of the AI art that they are able to produce now?
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I get really, and I don't like AI art, to tell you the truth. I get creeped out by it. Okay. And I'll tell you why. This is the thing. Like, just look at any AI art and look at the fingers. Look at the fingers on any AI art, and they're always like crippled, like kind of melted looking. Because what they're doing is they're merging images, and they don't understand the fingers. They don't understand that concept. The hand has 5 fingers, and it'll just melt the fingers together. So it always creeps me out. I always notice that. Like, I'm a person that notices fine details on things. I am like really, I get really kind of bothered by that. So I get creeped out by AI. The other thing is like they'll mess up really weird things. Like, eyes will be slightly like off, like not quite right. So
Mandy says AI has forced me to reimagine the classroom.
See,
Mandy, are you a teacher? I didn't know. I don't know that about you, but Mr. Akins is a teacher.
Yeah, and that's the reason I know anything about it. I'm actually now a virtual school teacher, and so we deal with AI all the time, whether it's them writing.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Like in writing, they would do it all the time.
Yeah, last year, the
Manny is a professor.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So last year, one of the teachers, once it started coming up a lot in the work that students were turning in, he kind of dived deep into it, and he got to where he was using it. We noticed that he was using it because he hooked it to everything. He hooked it to his emails. He hooked it to everything. And so, but we knew what his writing was like before he started using
so it just sounded different.
He would send us an email, and I'd walk over to his cubicle, and I'm like, "You didn't write this, did you?" He's like, "No, I didn't." you would send him in expecting a response. He even hooked it to his cell phone, and he had it answering his wife through text, and it took her like 3 days to figure out it wasn't him. Answer. He did it as an experiment to see how long it would take her to figure out that it wasn't.
It's a Turing test.
The text.
Do you know the Turing test?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, are you familiar with the Turing test?
No.
Is that like the test that they do in Blade Runner?
It's kind of like Blade Runner. It's the idea that Turing was the guy that invented computer languages and like the whole idea of the computer even. He basically came up with this idea that someday computers would be so smart that you wouldn't be able to tell a computer from a human. So the Turing test is basically the proof for AI that if it's smart enough to fool anyone to think that it's not a computer, then it's past the Turing test. It's so, yeah. Geeky
so
stuff,
when you did that layout, Alan, where it was the 3 stripes Is that?
Speaking
I'm
of
trying to.
technology,
Yes, trying to
strikes.
figure. Yeah, it was me, you, and Trav, and you did. It was like 3 equal. I'm gonna try something here. Let's see if that works.
Oh, okay, yeah. I like that better.
Yeah, that's the one.
You
like
guys were
that
like
one.
superior to me for a while. I felt like I was being pushed down, and now we're equals.
Now Mr. Akins is just like cut off in the middle. I don't know. Maybe I should put that back.
well, I've got a question for both of y'all, and I'm always curious. I've been wanting to ask a lot of the other creators what the answer to this is. How many comics do you actually have in your collection?
In my collection,
Yeah, like what you would consider your personal collection, not like, and I don't know if you're selling any, because I've got like a set that's like mine, and then I recently bought a collection, and most of it I've kind of gone through and added some to my PC, and then some I'm going to sell off. And I was just wondering, trying to get an idea of what level, where you're storing all these comics at, and that kind of thing. Like, how many do you actually own?
well, the where I'm storing them, I'm not telling anybody. But my personal collection, I haven't really separated out because the main thing that I'm into is more the Bronze and Silver Age stuff. But I do have a lot of modern stuff that doesn't really mean that much to me. I'd probably say it's probably like maybe 6 long boxes of stuff that would be my personal collection right now.
Okay.
Everything else is like trade fodder and sale fodder and picking up for clipping,
Mm-hmm. So that would be a total of how many comics?
That's like about 1,200 comics.
About
2,000 comics.
A long box, long box can hold anywhere from 200 to 300 comics, depending on the thickness of the books. So six of them, let's say there were 300 in each one. Let's say, was that 3 times 6?
Like that's 1,800
books.
Yeah.
And so maybe my collection's like 2,000 books.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I haven't, officially gone through and. Because originally I was starting just to collect like keys. I wasn't really going to collect runs where I had done before. And God bless says he has 12,000 comics.
Yeah. So
mostly
my
Marvel
collection's
1960 to 93 complete runs.
Yours is
so
around 30 to 40,000.
30 to 40,000. Yeah.
Okay, because I've got about 10,000. Most of that was just me collecting off the rack, and then I've got this new collection I bought, and most of it is 90s. The guy had it in his attic, and it was like 17. Well, he was selling it as 13 long boxes, and he had it up in his attic. And once I got there, we settled on a price. We started loading it up. Once I get it home and I start counting the boxes, I'm like, this isn't 13. This is 17 long boxes. So I messaged him back. He's like, oh, I don't care. I'm just glad to get.
Yeah. Like a lot of people just want to get rid of it. It's like taking up space.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he had gone through and tried to get all the keys. Like if there's a run of something, number one is missing.
Certain issues are missing.
Yeah. Certain issues are missing and stuff. So it's almost like, I feel like I've got a rescue shelter for comics. I'm trying to find new homes for these comics and for somebody to love, because I know somebody's going to want these comics. I've taken the ones I want, and I know somebody is really big into Youngblood, which I've got mine that I want. But I mean, I'm trying my best to. Like I saw that I saw Alan's video where he had gotten big lots of Golden Age and Silver Age comics.
Yeah, that was just that was today's video, I believe.
Yeah, that was today's video, like 10 cents. That's basically what I got these for, like 10 cents a piece. And I'm trying to, turn them around for about 10, 25 cents just to move.
Yeah, you make a little bit of money on it. Yeah.
Yeah, make a little bit of money off of them and just move them. Because
there is a trick. There's a couple tricks you can use to sell them, get rid of them really fast. And one is do whatnots, where you can sell them at $1 a piece or whatever. But another trick is like sell them as runs, like, just grab like a run and say, and just sell it as a run, like, and say, $1 a piece in the run, right?
That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to collect, put the runs there, because not all the runs are together, like there's stuff. And so I'm piecemealing stuff.
Even if it's not like a real run, it's like 10 Youngbloods that are like random issues, like you can sell it as a lot like that. people will buy that because a lot of people are trying to do run fills themselves. Like they want to get the whole run and they just need whatever random issues. The other thing is what you can do is, let's say you have a whole bunch of dollar bin books, like just the crappiest stuff. And then you have one, like maybe $10 book. What you do is you throw all together and then put that one big book at the top and say, various 90s books, and like put that on eBay.
I've been doing that exact thing. I'll get a run of something and I know this one's the one that they want, and I'll make that the picture on the page, and it's right there.
Yeah, you can. And what you can do is, this is a little shady. But what you do is you put it just so it's a little peeking out, so people would say, "Oh, I know what that is," but it's like behind some other stuff, and then you can make it seem like maybe there's more like that in this pile, right?
I know Dave got sucked into a garage sale because the guy put a picture of just like an X-Men issue 2 peeking out behind the entrance. Like, oh my god! And actually, it turned out pretty good. There was a lot of early issues of Hulk there and a lot of stuff. So
I've never been able to pick up comics at a yard sale. I've been going for like a year now, and I can never find comics. And there was the one I came closest to there was one a couple houses down, and I drove up, and of course where we live, you can have a yard that's a mile long, so their driveway's like a mile long, and they piled all their stuff by the road, and they were using golf carts to bring it. And the gentleman was a younger gentleman. He was probably in his 30s. And I said, first thing I asked, "Hey, y'all got any comics?" And his mom was driving up on the golf cart, and he looks at her and goes, "No, I don't have any comic books anymore," because she
oh no,
she threw them away.
She threw them away. Yeah, she threw them away. I said, "Well, what did you have?" He said, "Oh, I had a bunch of I really love Wolverine, so I had picked up almost everything at that time when I was a kid that he had appeared in." I was like, "Yeah, I would have loved to have some of those." And he looks back at her and says, "Yeah, I would love to have them too." And they get an argument, and she just drives off in the
That's so funny.
No, that's great though.
Every time I go to one of those yard sales, I always experience the same thing. It's like always 90s comics, worthless 90s comics, like the worst of the 90s comics. And they're always like totally beaten up, like
90s readers.
Barely readers. Like, the cover's falling off, like, a few pages are missing.
Send them over to Jerry the Jitterbug. He can restore them for you.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he'd love that. Can you restore my Turok #1?
Yeah. I've also tried estate sales. I haven't gotten a single comic from estate sales, and I was looking online, and on the preview, it had some comics. I'm like, okay. I told my wife, I said, Saturday, let's get there. I want to get these comics. I don't care what they are. I just want to say, okay, I bought some comics from, an estate sale. So we drive up, and there are 3 Vietnam veterans trying to get this couch out of the house. And so, of course, I'm like, hey, let me help y'all. So I'm helping them, because one of them could barely walk. And I'm like, hey, so I'm helping them get this couch out, and we get it all the way to the truck. We put it on the truck. Oh, I appreciate that. I said, that's great, and everything. So I walk back in. First thing I do is ask, hey, I saw you had some comics. The lady says, yeah, that guy over there bought them while you were helping those guys.
Oh, no.
Oh, man, you can never win.
Yeah, just never win. It's like Alan never win in the CBC awards. Just can't win.
But
Alan said he did. He was, what was it? You were on your honeymoon. You had the thing where your odds were really good. But you still didn't win.
My odds were really good. There was only 2 people that entered into the contest. But I did get the prize. I did win the prize in a way, because the other people that won, they ended up saying, "Oh, we can't do it," and so they gave it to us. But it was actually a really cool thing. The prize was a jet ski thing. We got to we got a free jet ski for a little while, like
oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I went on a jet ski. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that's really fun.
But,
You got in the background. We got Manny and Podblast talking about the first appearance of Hobgoblin, and I don't know if you
Which
saw in there, Mr. Akins, that Manny was talking about the number of books in his collection.
Actually,
how
I want
many
to
did he
ask a
say
question
he
to
had?
the Hobgoblin guy.
Go ahead.
This is a really interesting question that I don't know the answer to. I was okay. You know how the original Hobgoblin has like the stickers inside, like the tattoos, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the Canadian version, does it have the tattoos?
Okay.
So I was told that the Canadian version doesn't have the tattoos in it. So when people are submitting like the Canadian price variants of like the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, they're getting like, incompletes, right? They're getting like the green labels.
Right. Oh, with the Canadian editions, they are?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So that's interesting. The I know they're talking right now about the people pulling the tattoos out of other books and putting them in.
Putting them in. Yeah.
And now they've started to catch on to that. That people are getting the purple label.
So the story that I heard that kind of brought this all up was somebody got a Canadian edition, realized, hey, there's no tattoos in it, and then they got some other comic, put the tattoos in the Canadian edition just to just to get the blue label. So I don't know if it's true or not that the Canadian editions don't have it, but that's what I was told. So I just wanted somebody that's an expert maybe to validate whether that's true or not.
So there you go, Manny. There's a question for you. Does the Canadian edition really not have tattoos? Mm-hmm. Your professorship has been put to the test. Well, so you guys, Mr. Akins, you're the main guest today. I'm gonna put you on the spot and let you show some books, huh?
Yeah, show some books.
Put you in solo here.
I would consider Another Good Girl.
Oh, that's a nice one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
I really like this one as well. At first, I thought it was a photo, and it's just how it's. I just really like this cover. I always like the character too, the aesthetics of this character.
I always like Mary Marble.
Mm-hmm.
So the Hobgoblin collector says he actually did not know the Canadian thing. He says the tattoos are advertised. So.
Okay. So we'll find out.
Hey, there's some Barry Windsor Smith.
Barry Windsor Smith. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. People are getting sick of that in my shorts lately. I've been putting I was like, I'm gonna throw up some cool artwork that people might not be real super excited to see, but I'm throwing it up anyway.
So Barry, I love Barry Windsor Smith. I love his art, and then of course we're going to do some George Perez too.
Yeah, Immortal Mr. Perez, yeah. Death of Supergirl.
And then the other cover out of that run I really love is this one.
Podblast says it's 100% baloney that the Canadian edition does not have tattoos.
Okay, so. See, I'm only relaying a story. That's don't shoot the messenger.
And having it confirmed by the experts. But yeah, I love this one by George Perez as well.
That one's a great one. And that one, I know they had kind of, from what I was hearing, they kind of written themselves into a corner with the story with the Flash, where he had gotten in a bunch of trouble with the law and a bunch of those things going on, and then they kind of fixed it by having him die.
Yeah, this was when this came out, this was the first one I picked up. I didn't pick up any of the other. This was the first one I picked up because a friend of mine was more into DC. I was into the Marvel, and he's like, "Oh, you got to get into this," because at the time there really weren't events going on. I mean, you'd had Secret Wars and things like that, but an event like this was something that wasn't happening every summer now like they do. And he said, you got to get this. So this is the first issue I picked up from it. I was able to read his, of course. Want me to
So
keep
Pod
going?
Blast asked you a question there, Mr. Akins. With nice books, man. Comic Rack, are you primarily a DC collector?
No, I think I did one of these apps where you categorize all your stuff. And I think it's like 80-20. I think 80% of my collection is Marvel and about 20% of it is DC.
Oh, there you go.
Oh wow.
And the primary reason for that was, like I said, I was a reader primarily, and my friend was collecting DC. And so I would just read his stuff and he would read my stuff. And so I didn't really feel a need to collect or pick those up because, I've read it. And but he said, you've got to pick up this Crisis. It's just great. So I started picking up a few things, and after Crisis, I would pick up all the new stuff that came out because I felt like it was, starting over, and it was a good jumping on point.
Yeah, it was a good jumping on point. That was kind of their plan, yeah.
And I really loved a lot of the comics. Of course, I collected the Wonder Woman, the George Perez Wonder Woman, and of course, John Byrne was doing all the Superman and the Action Comics. And I was collecting the Flash. For some reason, I don't remember collecting the Batman comics at that time or the Detective Comics. I'm not sure why.
They didn't start the numbering over on that one.
I don't think they did. I think that's what it may have been. And so I didn't see where exactly I was going to jump in on those.
Right. So Manny says that he checks sold listings, Alan. Canadian price variants all have the tattoos with the blue label.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So that answers that question. I always wanted to know. So yeah.
Put that one to bed. Yeah, I would say right there with you, Mr. Akins, that I was not a DC guy until Crisis, and then I started kind of like, these characters are kind of classics. They're, I'll start reading it and jumping on. But I was a Marvel, what they used to call it, a Marvel zombie before Marvel Zombies was a thing. They would be, oh yeah, you Marvel zombies out there, you won't read anything but Marvel.
And I pretty much did. I mean, I've tried to pick up everything I possibly could. When I was, because I teach, or I have taught middle school. And when I would teach middle school, I would put comic book stuff up around the room because I would get tired during testing time. We would have to take things off the walls because they could use, there would be references on the walls that they could use during testing. So I got tired of taking stuff off the walls. And I was like, I'll just put comic book stuff up there. They can just stay up all year long and they can just stay there. And the kids would always ask me, hey, who's your favorite character? And I would say, well, it's really a tie because I really like Iron Man and I do like Captain America. That was the two comics I just constantly, no matter what creator did it, I would always pick them up and I would always read them. And
Civil War must have really tore you up.
Well, see, it made it super interesting. I was like, and they always had a interesting relationship, because especially in the Avengers, I always liked their interaction in the Avengers, Captain America and Iron Man, more so than some of the others, because they were the ones that were more human than the others, especially at that time with Captain America. He really wasn't considered a meta-human. Now I think he's, more considered a meta-human and has, superhuman qualities. But at the time, it was just the super soldier formula just made him to where he didn't produce lactic acid. So he could train to his peak human performance. And so you had two humans, they seemed to interact a lot more than the other characters. And then when, Armor Wars and things came around, I was, and then Civil War came around, I was like, yes, this is great. I really loved it because I loved the fact that they were really friends. And then this storyline kind of tore their friendship apart. So.
By the way, guys, I got to head out. I promised my wife I'd hang out with her. So I got to go. But okay.
Well, that's all right. Well, let's do that. Let me, I'm going to put you back in the layout so you can at least wave and say goodbye.
Sorry. But Comic Rack, reach out to me and we can hopefully do an interview.
Through Instagram?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that through Instagram.
Okay. Sorry to walk out so randomly.
Oh no, we appreciate you.
Wife's in the background saying it's whatever time it is. I don't know. It keeps on saying that.
It's bedtime.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, but I'll talk to you guys later. Okay.
All right, Alan.
Thanks
Have a
again,
good
by the
evening.
way, for inviting me. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks for dropping in.
Bye. Yeah,
So
man.
man says, what my program has allowed me to teach graphic novels, and I did a Junji horror manga unit. Most of my students prefer anime. I don't know what Junji is. Maybe you can explain. Junji Ito horror. Oh, Junji Ito must be. Maybe it's a. Is it an artist or a? I'm sorry. Manga is not my strong suit.
And most of the kids nowadays, that's what they're gravitating toward is manga. They're
Yeah. No, when I had my shops, I had to learn a lot about manga because it's so popular.
Yes, and you get the kids now that they're the outliers that are collecting American style comics.
Junji Ito is the author. Okay, I hope I'm not slaughtering his name, but
and nostalgic.
Oh, are you able to read the comments?
Yeah, I'm able to read the comments.
Okay.
Nostalgic Podcast is asking me, am I a fan of grading or not grading? I like both. To me, in a perfect world, I would have a raw and then I would have a graded. And the reason I like the graded is I like the displayability of it, of being able to display something in a graded, and it gives you a little bit of security when you're buying it online. You kind of, whether or not you like CGC or any of the other, you've got a third party that's been looked at this comic. When you buy it online, you go, hey, well, it's going to meet a certain standard.
Definitely, kind of. It definitely makes it where you can sell it later on, or a loved one. If you're to, leave your books to somebody, they're going to be able to sell them a lot more easily if they're slabbed.
Yes. For me, it's funny you say that. I've got comics and I've got things that are down there, and I've actually got notes on them as to who they're going to go to. And I said, if anything happens, you just go down there, you just flip it over and it says who it goes to. And I said, the rest of it, I said, you get the guy at my local LCS and you just tell him this price for the whole room. Just take it. And
your room is very impressive, by the way. I from what I've seen of it, your room is amazing.
I can't. The reason I'm not podcasting or doing this down there is because my wife affectionately calls it the dungeon, and you can't get any internet. You can't get any internet.
I figured it might be the case. Yeah, there's areas in my house where I get no service. So,
and I'm glad I listened to her when we remodeled this house, and this was an odd house. It was like a builder garage. It was built in the 50s, and when we remodeled it, it was like a showcase house for this subdivision that we were living in. And that room down there was some type of office. I'm not sure exactly what they were using it for, but it has all these shelvings on there. And at first I was like, oh, let's just tear this whole thing out. My wife was like, no, let's leave these built-in shelving in there. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I listened to her, because comics fit perfectly in there.
Oh, there you go.
And I also collect Bowen minibus.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And I usually what I would love to do is get a first appearance, and then in front of it, get the mini bust of that character.
Yeah, I really like the way that you display your books that way. Manny, your ASMs are going with you. They're going to bury you with your ASMs. Somebody who said that they were getting cremated with a book. There was somebody who's like, they're going to cremate me, and it was some book. It was like a Golden Age book. I was like, no, you can't burn that book when you die. It's like one more off the census.
I was watching somebody else, speaking of grading and non-grading.
Manny says yes, he is going to be buried with his ASM 238.
And he pulled out a comic that was, it was a key comic and stuff. And he pulled it out and he's like, I don't care what people say. I'm just going to take it out. And he takes it out of the thing and he pulls it out and he's like holding it and it detaches. And he's like, I don't care.
Oh no.
He's like, it's mine. I can do whatever I want to with it. And I contacted him later. I said, was that planned? He's like, yeah, I kind of just rolled with it, but that was pretty embarrassing.
Oh no. There's a guy. Have you watched Jerry the Jitterbugs channel or not? He does the restoration and whatnot.
A little bit.
There's a fella that was doing a whatnot sale, and he was getting frustrated that people weren't buying these Golden Age books, and he had a really nice Golden Age Wonder Woman, and he's like, "If you guys don't want to buy it, then screw it," and he just ripped it into like three pieces and threw it in the garbage. And Jerry reached out and got the book from him, and he's like, "I'm not trying to." He's like, it took a lot of coaxing and trying to tell him I'm not trying to shame you for destroying the comic or anything. I would just really like to be able to use my skills and see if I'm able to restore that book back to what it was. So
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, my inner collector was hurt. I was like, you know, grow up. I guess it's your own books. You can do what you want, but
Yeah, they're your own books. You can do what you want to with them. And I have sent some things off to CGC. Most of the books, and just because I wanted to see what the experience was like, see what kind of grades I would get, because you watch channels and people are constantly sending stuff off to CGC and they're getting it back. And is it the grade that I got, the grade that I thought it was going to be? And me being a novice at that, I should have had them cleaned. Now I know they need to be pressed, those kind of things. I just kind of took them out of the bag and said, okay, I'm going to send this off to CGC and see, it looks pretty good. And
yeah.
Some of the grades I got back were good and some of them weren't.
Is that the name of the guy who ripped the comic up, Manny? Pete?
Yes.
Is that the guy? Okay. Must be the guy's name. All right. Yes, that is a horror story. I remember back in the day, even back in when I was a collector in high school, I had a friend and we used to do we here's how goofy we were as kids. We would go over to his house in the basement and we would set up our own little comic book show. We'd have things hanging on the wall and everything too, and we would trade with one another. We had like a group of like 4 or 5 friends. We would all get together and have our little display, our little booth, but one guy, he had an A-Team #1 and he's like, this thing's never going to be worth anything, and he started ripping it and we were all like, oh no, stop. That's actually worth some money now. Time proved him wrong, but it's not worth a whole lot. But
it's not worth a whole. It's like, some of the ones that I've got down there that that I know are not worth anything, that may be damaged beyond repair. I mean, Jerry the Jitterbug could probably fix them, but you get so many long boxes and I don't know what's in the long box. And so what I did was, at first I Mod Podged the outside of the box with, the comic itself. Like I take a comic and I just plastered on the outside. So if it's an Avengers, I'm looking at a box and it's got a bunch of Avengers on the outside. Well, I know that's an Avengers long box because I got them stacked up.
Right.
Now I look back at some of them and I'm like, I may not should have taken that one.
No, you realize some of them were kind of key books, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I had at the time I was thinking, even something like a $20 maybe Alpha Flight book, like Alpha Flight #1. It's $10, and I put that sucker up and used it to
I want to find a Canadian price variance on that one. That's one that I want to find. That's actually an expensive book in the Canadian price variant. But there's a story. It's kind of off the comics thing, but was a guy talking about he collected a lot of baseball cards back in the day, and he remembered he took all of his duplicate cards and he ringed the entire bathroom in his church. He plastered it with it and made wallpaper out of them. And he said, I still remember there's an entire strip of Reggie Jackson rookie cards around the middle. He's like, I wonder whatever happened to those.
Good night, Manny. Manny says, have a great evening. We'll watch the rewind.
Okay. Well, we loved the stories that you had there and learning from you. So thanks for hopping in, Manny. Really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing the information with me that you've shared on the side.
Right. I love that Alan didn't know something, that he had to go to somebody else.
There's a lot. That's how we do learn this stuff, though. And you learn it and you hang on to it. It's stored in those database after a while.
Yeah.
So you still had some more books to show?
Yeah. I got some more
Okay.
books I can show.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put you back on the spotlight.
I pulled out some random, like I said, I pulled out Barry Windsor Smith. Then we had George Perez, and another artist I really loved is, of course, Alex Ross.
Alex Ross, yeah, he's the man.
He is. I remember first seeing his stuff in Kingdom Come. That was the first time I saw some of his stuff. Mm-mm. And these timeless covers are absolutely beautiful. I love all these timeless covers.
Yeah, yeah.
So I picked out.
Those are great.
And this one, I like this one as well. I mean, the veins in his head.
The leader, yeah.
Exactly.
There's rumors that he's going to be in. What was it? He's going to be in
New World Order with.
Yeah, possibly New World Order. I mean, and I heard also that Marvel finally got the full rights back for the Hulk, so they can do Hulk movies.
Yeah, it was odd, like I'm sure that you've discussed before on probably others, how they had to sell off all their rights in the 90s, at the end of the 90s.
They had to do that to survive bankruptcy.
Yes, and who they sold rights to. And the Hulk went to Universal, because of the fact that he's like a monster.
Right.
They were interested in that rights to that character, and so Universal's had those rights up until this point. So, and then we'll do one more. I love this Alex Ross one as well.
Oh yeah, that's great. Red Wing and the Falcon. There you go.
And it's funny. I was looking for pets, and of course, after you do the video, here's
then they all show up.
Yeah, here's 5 other comics you could have used, and this is one of the ones I could have used. I really love this one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cover.
And I know, as far as a lot of times the modern comics, the way the costumes are drawn, they're more practical costumes. It seems.
Yeah.
I love this costume of the Falcon. I guess this is the one I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love this costume of the Falcon.
I like that Ross takes those impractical costumes and just runs with it,
I have a Green Lantern poster that I used to have in my room when I had a room. And I love the fact that the costume had wrinkles, the wrinkles in them, it's like it was fabric that he was wearing something.
Yeah, he adds that layer of realism to it, which is just so good. All right, well, I can show a few books if you like.
Sure. And while you're showing the books, I know this is going to be completely off topic, but I've got to know, since you used to play D&D.
Yeah.
Everybody has their preferred character and their preferred race. What was your preferred character class and preferred race?
I was all over the place. I would have I'd play an elven female. I played an orc monk. I played my class was usually fighter, but I did play I had an elven female wizard. Yeah, most of my characters usually met untimely demises. Heroic, but untimely.
Were you playing first edition, or are you doing second edition? What edition did you?
I started in second edition, and I've played through most of the iterations up through 3.0, 3.5. I don't think I've played any. Is it 5th edition now? It's out.
Yeah, 5e. Yeah, that's what they call it now.
Yeah, I haven't played, but I know my brother-in-law runs the campaign, and he's invited me to play online with them. But hey, there's where'd you get that? Hello, sir.
Hello. We need the music playing.
The music, yeah.
The piano music.
Yes, for sure. So
show me something I want to be jealous of.
Well, I showed you my Iron Man #1. I got my Iron Man #2. You probably already have one of those.
No, I'm working on my run, and I don't have a #2.
So there's a #2. I'm gonna go ahead and make myself big so you can see it better. All right. So there's an Iron Man #2. This is kind of a goofy cover.
I've got a #1 and I've got a #3. And
How
then
about first appearance of Ultron?
no.
There's the first appearance of Ultron. And then when you go first appearance of Ultron, how about the first appearance of
Division.
Voltron?
Oh.
Which is actually a pretty valuable book.
Is it?
Yeah. This is back from, I don't know if you can see the cover price, but it's 75 cents back in the day. And very low print run. And it's not a big company. It's by a little tiny indie company called Modern Comics. And so, and it's a newsstand. So,
wow.
Yeah. Voltron and the Defenders. Were you not into Voltron?
Yes.
Let's see. And then, okay, here's some trivia for you. Whose catchphrase is spoon?
Spoon?
Yeah, it's his battle cry. Spoon.
Oh, go ahead and show me because I'm not gonna. Yes, the Tick.
The Tick. Yeah, so the Tick #1. There's two different. Actually, there's more than two. This is the unlimited edition #1. The limited edition #1 actually isn't called a #1. So, but it's also the first. It's the same issue, but it has a serial number on it.
Is that book extra thick?
No,
it's a normal thickness.
It's bigger. It's bigger than a normal comic, width-wise.
Are you having to put it in a golden age bag or a silver age bag?
Yeah, it's a golden age bag. But yeah, it's a cool book for sure. So I was watching a claim sale on West Coast Avengers, and yep, where'd you get that? He had Tick in there before we said anything. And the guy was haggling with him, and he said $80, or the guy offered him $60 on it. It was $100+ book, and the guy offered him $60 on it. He said, "I'd go 80. That's the lowest I go." And the guy started haggling again, and I'm like, "I'll take it for 80." I'll just jump the line. So here's some 80s goodness.
Oh yes, I've got that one.
Yeah. I think that has a lot of potential as far as the Disney Plus kind of stuff, as seeing some appearance on the little screen or maybe the big screen at some point.
Is there
It
anything?
wasn't a bad comic book.
It wasn't. You're right, because I remember it from back in the day, and it wasn't.
It crossed over with X-Men several times. The Wounded Wolf issue of X-Men, drawn by Barry Windsor Smith. Very, very good, with Katie Powers in it. She shows up and Wolverine's kind of in a feral rage, and in the middle of a blizzard, she calms him down and helps him survive an attack by Lady Deathstrike and the Reavers. It's just great. So this is, speaking of Mr. Perez.
Yes.
Infinite Crisis #5. This is the second printing sketch variant. This is the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, the new Blue Beetle. So got that from Dave as well. And this is the Jim Lee version of that same book. Kind of excited to see where they go with that movie. Oh yeah, that was a newsstand on the Power Pack as well. Yeah. Actually, Dave sent that to me for my birthday because I had been talking about it. He was like, here you go. I found one." So this is the first appearance of Jaime, not in costume or anything. So just as a character. So, #3 of Infinite Crisis. All right. Are you a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, Mr. Akins?
I wasn't until the movie.
Okay. Do you know whose first appearance that is?
Gamora.
Yes. There's first appearance, Strange
You know,
Tales.
I found is it Jim? It's Jim Starlin, right?
Yes. Yep.
There's I think it's from that run, and I think it has Adam Warlock, and he's like fighting a bunch of people, and they're like, he's fighting so many people, they're piled up around him, and he's like on top of the pile fighting more. I always thought
Yeah.
that was a very cool cover. I always wanted that just for that cover.
Reminds me of the Wolverine ongoing series #1. We're just on top of the pile of bodies.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go trivia again.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you probably watched this on my other videos, but first appearance of
Mystique.
yes, sir.
And the funny thing was, I thought for some reason Mystique was in Miss Marvel #1.
Oh, right. I think I remember seeing that on your video. You were like, and then you were like, oh, it's not in that.
It's number 16.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we're going to go a little deeper. You've probably seen this video where I showed most of these off, but first appearance of.
Oh, I don't
They
know.
both have. It's actually two major characters. They both have the same last name.
Two major characters that both have the same last name.
They're both female.
Both. I don't know.
They fit into the Captain America lore.
Oh, is it Peggy and Sharon Carter?
First appearance of Sharon and Peggy Carter.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's I think that's Sharon there on the cover, and then Peggy is in the, or is that Sharon or is that Pepper? I'm not sure. Sharon's a blonde, isn't she?
Yes.
So yeah, Peggy's is a cameo in this one. Her first full appearance is in the next issue, but all right, we're going a little more modern. Whose first appearance is this?
I don't know.
All right, we'll give the chat a second to catch up, see if they could shout it out, and then I'll give a hint. I'll give a really big hint. She recently just died.
Miss Marvel. I mean,
Kamala Khan.
yeah, Kamala Khan. And I was about to say that, but I wasn't. I thought she appeared. I thought her first appearance was in a .1 comic or something.
No, that's her first appearance in that one, and actually, so that's her first appearance as Kamala Khan.
Okay.
Yeah, so her first appearance as a superhero is that .1 comic. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this was another one that was sent to me for my birthday. The signed copy of Batman Incorporated, signed by Burnham on the bottom. It's kind of cool. Nothing big about it other than it's just kind of a neat little. Somebody was like, "Oh, it's your birthday. Here's a free comic."
Well, I got a signed one that I got for my birthday. It's odd that you said that because I got one that somebody gave me for my birthday years ago.
Cool. Of the same book?
No, it's not the same book, but it's a signed copy.
There's something from Mon Comics here.
Yes.
There you go, Brandon. Second appearance of Claw. Just an early FF 56. I think I paid like $10 or $15 for that. Not a whole lot.
See, and I was looking at some of the Uncanny X-Men from the last video with Obito that you were showing, and the prices that you were getting for those things. And so I was like, well, I want to see what my LCS has. And they weren't nowhere near. I mean,
yeah, no, Dave has those priced really well. And then like he'll throw them up. Sometimes he'll throw it up in like, I got to read the room. There's a gal can't remember her name now. But she collects X-Men too. So if we're both in the room at the same time, you gotta I gotta grab them right away. Otherwise, if they just sit there on the rack, he'll put up like 15 books, and then he'll sit down and talk for a while, and then if nothing moves, then he pulls everything off. Well, towards the time where I'm like he's getting close to pulling everything down, I'll start throwing out offers, and usually I do pretty well with those.
And he does his claim sales on Wednesday.
Yes.
At
Yes.
what is that?
Pacific time, I think like 6:30 ish time for his Pacific, so it'd be about 9:30 your time.
Okay.
Right now he's in Europe looking for Pence editions and going to a Comic Con in London.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And then he's going to go. I think from there he's headed to I always forget the two, Scotland, Ireland, and headed over that way.
Yeah, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales.
Yeah. So here's another one I thought was kind of an interesting pickup. Injustice, which is the first prince of all the video game characters. That's the storyline where the Joker tricks Superman into killing Lois Lane. Superman becomes the kind of the evil lord ruler of the world, and corrupts the whole Justice League into joining him, other than Batman. So thought that was because they've actually had the Injustice Superman has appeared in other comics as a major bad guy. So I thought that was kind of an interesting book. And then everybody's favorite.
Oh, yes. I love that one.
John Walker. The John Walker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The guy that they got to play him was great for the show too. He's so likable yet unlikable. All right, here's another trivia. You know whose first appearance that is. Who's on the cover?
It's not
a trick.
It's what?
Since he's on the cover, it's not a trick. It's Captain Marvel. It's her first appearance as Captain Marvel instead of Ms. Marvel.
Really?
Yeah. It's $100.
See, I thought she was being called Captain Marvel before then.
Yeah, no, she was Ms. Marvel before then. Captain Marvel was Captain Marvel. And I guess a buddy of mine was telling me, I haven't actually had a chance to read this book, but he was telling me that at one point in the book, Captain America says, I think it's time that the world has another Captain Marvel. So
Nostalgic Podcast says it has a paper cover and it's not slick.
Let's find out. And then I detach the cover like your buddy did.
Exactly. We have it on camera.
That's right. Well, here it is on camera. This is glossy. Not as it's glossy. I don't know if you can see.
Maybe his has a paper cover, and it's not.
Yeah, this one is glossy. I don't know if you can see the gloss or not shining, but it is glossy.
Maybe Nostalgic Podcast. Maybe his has a paper cover.
It's a special printing.
Yeah.
Maybe a test print or something.
He says mine is not glossy.
This is not glossy. Mine is glossy. Maybe mine is the faux edition. Maybe mine is a variant, he says. It's awesome. And then I picked up the to go along with that, the second appearance of Captain Marvel.
That's an homage to the Thanos cover from Spider-Man.
Yeah. Which was what was the quote on that? Thanos cover was that "You'll believe a man can die," which was the quote from the Superman movie. "You'll believe a man can fly."
Mm-hmm.
And then this one was also given to me for my birthday. Which is, Spider-Boy being so popular right now. This one has actually gone up in value. It's the amalgam Superboy and Spider-Man, so Spider-Boy.
Yeah, I found an amalgam in that collection I have, and I put it up on eBay, and it was Generation Hex. Guess it was.
Oh yeah, Jonah Hex and Generation X together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I read it, then I put it up on eBay, and I think I sold it for $3 or something like that.
That sounds about right, but it's still good reading though, right?
Yeah.
Enjoyable stuff. All right. Well, that was my stack of random books that I grabbed to show.
Random books.
Well, I was like, we're going live. I need to have something to show. And I grabbed a pile because I knew like the piles that I have in here I just showed the other day. So
Well, that's what I did. I went down there and grabbed some. I said, "Ooh, let's get some Alex Ross. Let's get some George Perez. Let's get, I knew you like Barry Windsor Smith. I pulled out the Machine Man comic, and
yeah.
So, you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's put you back up here.
Well, you got one signed for your birthday.
Oh, it's signed. There you go.
Yeah,
and it's not the tea bag version either. That's what they call it when he just puts a T on there. They call it the tea bag.
Yes. So, got the certificate of
occupancy and everything.
Yeah.
There you go.
I guess I'd have to send it to CBX.
CBCS, yeah.
CBCX.
Yeah. CBCS.
CGC doesn't verify.
Yeah.
Then I picked this one up today, trying to complete my run. This will be the
blood. Huh?
Yeah, this will be the last Iron Man he has at the LCS that I don't have. I realize this is a family show, but it says, "You're a dead man, Avenger. Too bad you couldn't match up to the Ramrod."
Wow.
And I mean, there he is right there. I mean, you can't match up to him.
That looks like what was that Obadiah Stane's armor that he had in issue 200? Is it 200? The black armor, Ironmonger.
The Ironmonger armor, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still like going through the dollar bins. It gives me a sense of still being a kid where I can take $10 and I can get, a big load of comics. And I really like this cover, but the art on the inside isn't as good. I just, for some reason,
cool.
I just like, that is a really cool cover. For $1, I'll pick it up just because of the cover.
Who's the artist?
I have absolutely no idea.
Oh, and that's Dolphin. That's Dolphin.
Yes.
Yeah. She's I know a lot of people are a big fan of her first appearance in Showcase.
Yes.
That's a beautiful cover.
I was looking and seeing how expensive her first appearance was. And it's funny, there's a big poster I have in my room that's a George Perez, Alex Ross collaboration for Crisis. And it's funny which characters are prominent, and has like a prominent place. When you're looking at the poster and the size of the characters, meaning prominent. Yeah. She's got a very prominent, part in that comic. So, and speaking of George Perez, I know you've shown this one before, but I mean, you can show this 1,000 times and never get.
Oh, that's such a great cover. Yeah, I love that. The only thing that so being an artist, the only thing that kind of like I'm like, oh George, you should have turned the hammer a little bit more, or it's more. I don't like it that it's sideways. It just kind of bugs me. But you still there?
I'm not. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. There you go. Yeah, I lost you for a second, or you lost me. I don't know. Something happened.
Yeah, you know what? I never noticed that it is sideways. You're right.
Yeah, should have been more a little head on, but
What else did I pick up today? I picked this up. Saw that one. I said, "Oh, that looks pretty cool." The World's Finest. Cool.
These are dollar bin finds?
No, this one's not a dollar bin. That other one was $1.
Okay.
I picked this. He had this one up on the shelf. He has that wire shelving So he's got it lined up along the wall.
Grid wall. Yeah.
And if you go below, he may have some extra copies of like the first. And this was World's Finest first one.
Nice. So if you go and watch on Alan's channel, there's an interview with me, and in my man cave is all lined with grid wall, so you'll see my stuff on the wall and everything.
Everybody was talking about this one too, so I had to pick it up.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing good things. What was and there's the annual that comes before that, I guess.
Yes.
Which is a big spec book. Everybody's excited about that book.
I haven't read this one yet, but and that's the thing. I was talking with Aussie Comic Collector and through a text, and he was talking about how he's got a pile of comics that he hasn't read, and I'm like, yeah, I got a pile of comics I haven't read either, and it's because I keep making YouTube videos and not reading comics.
I told that to a friend of mine. I'm like, yeah, I used to be able to do a lot more things, and my comic collection used to be a lot more organized before I started making YouTube videos.
Because you go down there and you start pulling stuff out, and I'm like, I got to put this stuff all back. It's just all
I blame Alan for that with his challenges, because I was like, oh, I like all these. I'll be looking through a stack of books. I'm like, what are these all having? Oh, these all have this in common. Okay.
Yes.
That's a cool cover.
I thought this was a cool cover.
Is that Tony on the cover, or who's that in the?
Yeah, that's Tony in the cover. On the cover, I haven't. Again,
Nice.
this entire run I haven't read yet. This new run, I Am Iron Man. I've collected them, but I haven't even read the very first issue of it.
The whole. Did you read? Were you reading during the Dark Avengers kind of time period?
A little bit, yes.
The Iron Man run during that time period is great, where he Norman Osborn demands that he hand over all the information and files on everybody who's registered. And Tony had been using the extremists stuff in his body, and he had gotten rid of it, but he uploaded all of the information into his brain, and so it was killing him. He's like, I give you everything in the room, Norman, and he walks out, and then he's got this whole database in his head that's killing him, and it was a really good story.
I picked this one up because somebody was showing this comic on another channel I was watching, and my wife made a comment about it. She's like, "What's going on in there?" And I was like, okay. I said, I've got that cover. I can go down there and show you.
And you didn't have it though.
Yeah. And this was $1. I got this one out of the dollar bin. I think I've got
being flooded, and you got Dazzler
and Spider-Woman there.
Yeah.
I've gotten this entire run from that collection I bought and from the dollar bins, except for number 1.
Oh, okay.
Because he went through and he picked out, all the number 1s.
Nice. Oh, that's it. It's a good series. I mean, I like Alison Blair as a character, the Dazzler. I mean, she's a cool character. We were just talking about that. I think Alan and I were talking about that. I'm like, oh yeah, she was in that terrible Phoenix movie. He was like, what? I said, yeah. She was there singing in like some backyard barbecue.
Exactly. And then, of course, I'm going to show some John Byrne.
Oh, Byrne alert.
Yes. I always love this cover. I don't know why I like this cover.
No, that's a cool cover. I think it's an homage to something, but I couldn't tell you what it's an homage to.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, have I seen this cover somewhere before? Has he, did he take this one from somebody else? But I really love this cover on this one. And then
it's funny if you start following John Byrne, he homages himself a lot, just like McFarlane. Yeah.
And here's one you probably don't see that often, and I have no idea where I got this from, but I love this cover too of this.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Is that Byrne?
Yeah, it's Byrne.
Oh, nice. Byrne, baby, Byrne. That's cool.
Yeah, I love this cover.
Fantastic Four Chronicles, huh?
I think I just picked this up probably just because of the cover when I was a
Have
kid.
you do you have Phoenix? I think I saw it on your channel, Phoenix: The Untold Story, right?
Yes, I do have that.
Yes, and that's got the burn cover too that most people don't see.
And they keep sending out that tag challenge of find your 5 favorite covers. And I think I think this may actually be my favorite cover of all time.
That is a cool cover.
And the reason why I say that is because when I was a kid, this one came out and I just loved it. And then when this one came out,
there's Burn homaging Burn. We were just talking about that.
exactly. When this one came out, I took, of course, there's no computers. There's very few copiers. I took onion paper and I traced this one and traced this to create, to merge the two things together. It must have took me hours to do that. Now you just get on the internet and somebody's done it for you.
That's great though. Yeah. Did you see the part where Obito is really big into the cosmic characters, and I was like, "Oh, if you love the cosmic characters, you probably love the Star Jammers." And he's like, "Who's that?"
Yes. Well, it's and another thing I was thinking of, his comic journey is so different than mine. Because I'm riding my bike to go get things off the rack, and he's doing a YouTube video. He's 16 and he's doing YouTube videos about collecting comics. When I was 16 or 15, it's just so weird how his comic journey is going to be so different than ours.
Yeah, I mean it's similar, but yeah, not the same. But I mean, and I kind of feel sad because that back in the day we could do go down to 7-Eleven or whatever and buy yourself a Slurpee and a handful of comics. And
I think they're missing out on a market. I think I was in a discussion and they were discussing this. I think they're missing out on the market of still having it at the checkout counters, even in Walmart and places like that. If you put it by the checkout counters, buy the candy, because there's still kids today going, "Hey, Mom, can I have this piece of candy?" Hey, yeah, and they're scanning it. I think they're missing out on getting kids introduced to comics that way, because that's how I was introduced to them. My brother had some, but how I continued it was we would go to the grocery store, we would go to, and they were there. They were right there in front of you when you were going to check out, or they were on a rack somewhere. And I think they're missing out on a whole demographic.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it was easy. It's about easy accessibility, and if it's easily accessible right there,
it's also and so the last place that I remember having them around here was Fred Meyer's, which I guess would be Kroger over where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
They had a newsstand in Fred Meyer's. Was the last place I can remember there being comics on a newsstand rack. But yeah, I think they're missing out, and they're doing the multi-packs now at Walmart, where they're like a like a $10 or $12 item or whatever they are.
And I know Swaggle was talking about bringing back the at what point in time do we bring back the poly bags? Because it's almost like we're reliving the 90s. They're trying to use all these gimmicks to get people to
right.
To me, he was talking about the Lord of the Rings card that was in
Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, yeah, that could get a lot of people to buy comics if you've got a one-of-one variant somewhere and you've got them in packs and they're selling them at Walmart. I said you'd have a dang run on if somebody'd come and they'd buy everything up, at one time.
Yeah.
But you would probably distribute them out. They couldn't go to every place. If you distributed them out to some of these other places, like some of these gas stations.
They've done blind variants already. speaking of Magic the Gathering, I bought, I was talking before about buying bulk books from little mom and pop places that don't want to devalue the books to their clientele. Well, one of the boxes I opted open and I'm like, oh, it's got Magic the Gathering polybag comics in it. And I started digging and I'm like, this entire box of 200 comics is all Magic the Gathering polybag mystery covers. And they're all worth I think they're worth $12 to $15 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, did they mean to give this box to me? But yeah, no, but they have done mystery polybags where you don't know which cover you're getting, which could be cool. You could do all kinds of stuff. You could have one-of-ones, you could have sketch editions, you could have all kinds of stuff. But who knows if they're actually gonna follow through with something like that.
Nostalgic Podcast said it would also encourage kids to read more, and that was my introduction really to reading. Was that I wanted to read comics, and you got to figure out what people want to read to get them into it. That
was kind of when I had my shops, I was always telling parents, I was like, there's worse things they could be doing with their money and their time. I can probably contribute a lot of me not growing up to be such a terrible person to collecting things and reading, and my buddies always wanted to. We always wanted to create the things that we enjoyed, so we would draw our own comic books. We would create our own board games, do all of that kind of stuff. So
I think that's one of the reasons I liked playing role-playing games so much, was the fact that you could create your own stories. When Marvel Superheroes role-playing game came along, I mean, we were all into that, because then we could play these characters, almost start the universe over again and go from there.
So did you watch the Daredevil and the Punisher Netflix shows?
Yes.
So playing Marvel superheroes, I was like, Turk and Grotto, because those were kind of the low-level guys that you started out fighting when you made your first character. You had to fight Turk and Grotto. I remember those guys. I was like, oh well, and I think Grotto died in the Punisher episodes, but Turk's still around. So Turk's always getting his hands busted or something slammed in the trunk by the Punisher.
Exactly.
Nostalgic Public says, my allowance was spent primarily on comic books, not candy. One of the things that would last. That's right. Have something to show for your money, right?
One of the things I'm going to do this year is, from this collection I bought, I've got a lot of stuff that there's no way I can sell it. I've got multiple copies of it, or I already have it myself. I want to set up a short or long box when trick-or-treaters come up. Grab you a comic.
There you go.
As your, for trick-or-treaters.
So when I had my shop, I had a bin that was 25 cents a book, or you bring 2 books, you can take another book. So you always, you buy a couple books for 25 cents, you read them, bring them back in, trade them for another book you haven't read, So it's my way of encouraging reading and having kind of a free trade-in kind of thing for kids. So
that's a great idea.
And once somebody brought in the first appearance of the Green Goblin and left it in there. I was just like, my buddy goes, I think you want to look at this. And I was like, what? And he goes, it was in somebody brought it in for the trade, bring in 2, take a book. I was like, who did that? The crazy things that happen when you own a store.
Yes.
Okay, so I've got a crazy Dungeons and Dragons story for you from back when I had a store. It's not doesn't entail playing Dungeons and Dragons, but here I am. Let's set the story up. I'm at the front counter. I'm going through my previews, order form. In the corner of my front room is a grid wall corner with paint and stuff for miniatures, and on the other side is uh, section for renting VHS anime. And in that little back corner was my my manager that I employed for the store, and he was doing some inventory stuff. And this fella comes in. This will date the story. He's carrying a bag with Blockbuster videos in it. And he comes walking in. Well, this store this space that I had used to be an old feed store, so it had a lower level and an upper level, which had stairs going into it. And that's where the back issue comics were. So the fella came over and he was looking at our role-playing section, and I was doing my thing, and I greeted the fella, and my manager was back in the corner doing his thing, and I looked over, and the guy kind of darted up the stairs. So I walked over, kind of looked, saw what he was doing. He was just kind of looking around at the back issue comics, and noticed that not only did he have the bag with the Blockbuster videos, but he had a little, like a fifth of, peach schnapps or something with him. I was like, okay. So he's like, well, thanks for letting me look around. And he walks to the front door and he says, bye, guys. And when he did that, his shirt comes up and he has all 3 of the core books for Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 that just came out stuffed down the front of his pants under his shirt. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, I made it out the door. I get to leave now. And he just starts walking down the road calmly, right? And I'm like, oh, hell no. So I start running out from behind the counter, and my manager, I told my manager, was like, call the police. We're headed this direction. Well, it's snowing out, and this fellow starts running, and we round the corner, and we're going uphill, and we're both at some point winded and tired, and we're going uphill, and he's maybe like 20 paces ahead of me. And he's breathing and huffing and puffing. He says, just tell your boss I got away. And I said, I got bad news for you. I am the boss.
That's good.
So the trail goes up the hill. It cuts a little jog in, ironically, to the detox center, and comes out. Well, so I come around the corner and I can see his footprints go in there's like a little alcove, and I can see where he went inside, and I can see his breath puffing out of the alcove. And I'm like, hey, I know you're in there. I'm like, I just want my books back, and I'll let you go. I won't even tell the cops. I'll turn my back. I won't tell the cops which direction you went. I just want my books back. He says, really? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay. And he comes out with the books like he's going to hand them to me. And he gets about 6 inches from it, and he throws them down and starts swinging. And so here we are, brawling in the front yard of this detox center. And I finally get the guy pinned down, and there's like this crew of guys like doing some sort of cleanup over by the buildings, and they come over, and I'm like, hey, do you have a phone? Call the police. And the guy goes, we're work release crew from the jail. You can't be doing that. And he pulls me off of the guy. Well, the guy knees me in the chin, and again we're brawling again. So we're brawling for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden the cop cars, 3 police cars, pull up with guns drawn, and they're like, freeze. I'm like, who's the bad guy? And I'm kind of like, him? Anyway, my Dungeons and Dragons books got destroyed because he threw them down in the mud and the snow. And
I was about to say he's gonna pull them out of his pants and he peed on them. That's what I thought you were gonna say.
No, yeah. So yeah, didn't end up well for either one of us. But there you go. There's my funny Dungeons and Dragons comic book store story.
Well, the 3 most popular places that play D&D are the 3 places that people play the D&D the most.
I would say jail is one of them, maybe.
Jail is one of them.
Yeah.
The Army or in college. That's your 3 places to play D&D. That's your demographic for D&D playing. Jail.
Jail, the Army, and college. That's a wide spectrum of folks, So. Yeah, I did kick his ass pretty good, but he got some good licks in too. Podblast says he found your channel and subscribed to you.
Okay,
So there
I'm
you
going to
go.
do the same.
You got a new sub. But yeah, there you go. There's your I've been thinking about I need to have a Tales from the Comic Shop segment about, just crazy stuff that happened when I had my comic stores.
When you had your stores I mean, how long ago was that? How many years ago was that?
So I started them in 1993 and we sold them shortly after my son was born. He was born in 2008. So we sold them like 2009. And then that was during the housing crisis and everything.
Mhm.
And then so I ended up having to carry the contract because no banks wanted to give out a loan, and that all ended very badly for me. So don't ever carry the contracts. But yeah, so yeah, I had a good run in there.
So
So it
you were
was,
in there when CGC came about and things like you were in there.
yeah, I was so steadfastly against CGC. I'm still torn. My stance a long time ago was like comics are made to be read, and now I understand more of the preserving them for posterity, and these things are going to disintegrate. Some of the old stuff, it's just not able to be read. And now my outlook is a little differently as well because everything is available to be read digitally for the most part, and
Mhm.
so you don't have to, or there's been reprinted. And oh, by the way, the word I was looking for way back when Alan was here was facsimile. Facsimile editions. They keep doing facsimile editions of books. They're not considered reprints.
Reprints, yeah.
Um, and what we thought was my buddy Trav and I were talking. We said what's interesting is that there's these facsimile editions of books with brand new covers. So at what point does that become it's a new thing because it's got a completely different cover that you can't get anywhere else?
It's like those classic X-Men I was showing. They have new
Yeah.
covers, and if you read the story, there's additional pages.
Oh, I love that. I think I commented on your video. I said that I love the fact that they put and it adds so much to the story because it fleshes out a lot more. You had that whole in number one, it has that whole thing of the aftermath of them rescuing them from Krakoa, where Wolverine's hitting on Jean Grey, and it kind of sets up that whole dynamic of his relationship with Cyclops,
Yes.
where he's hitting on Jean Grey. Cyclops starts yelling at him. Angel comes flying out of nowhere and punches Wolverine, knocks him across the yard. And
Yes.
yeah, really great stories. If you guys haven't read classic X-Men, uh, just for the Arthur Adams, the covers, and then what they call the frontispiece, the additional artwork on the inside cover.
Yeah, and the inside cover, a lot of them had
Beautiful.
additional artwork there. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, in fact, the picture I used for the thumbnail for John's Comics with Kids is from the interior, I believe, of Classic X-Men #1.
It is. I saw it there,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, I know where you got that artwork from."
yeah, yeah. Beautiful stuff. I love Arthur Adams. You were asking, so you had a question about him and like other people enjoying his books, and then were you asking for what books he's done or what things to?
No, I was asking what people think of his art style.
Oh,
Because
I love his style. I mean, his problem that he has is he's not really fast. And so it's hard for him to follow and meet deadlines. So he does a lot of covers nowadays and
right.
stuff. And he used to do the X-Men annual every year. He was doing the X-Men annual and the New Mutants annual, or yeah, New Mutants. It was an annual, but a lot of them had to do with Asgard and what was going on with the X-Men and Asgard and Thor being or and Storm being an Asgardian thunder goddess and
Right.
yeah. One thing that was bad about Marvel Tales, let's see. was 2 to 3 pages would be omitted. Oh,
Huh.
interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
That, yeah, I'm a completist. I like that there's extra things in the classic X-Men, but if I'm missing part of the story, that's going to bother me.
You're right. Is it a completely different comic? Is it a reprint? Is it, a facsimile, or is it something completely
That's
separate?
what the thing with classic X-Men. I don't think that it really is a reprint because it has new material. I love love the Marvel Masterworks when they started in '87, so I could read the stories without Dan. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. In trade paperbacks in general, that was a big thing for me in my store. Was at one point I invested hugely into trade paperbacks, and trade paperbacks sold just as much as new comic books in my store,
Mhm.
because people wanted to read the stories without having to pay that huge sticker price, or they weren't interested in. It wasn't they weren't into comics for the collectability. They were into the comics for the sheer joy of enjoying the artwork and the stories. So
Right. I was going to somebody, I think it was maybe Wahoo Comics, talked about going to your local library because you've
yeah.
got the ability to loan books from other libraries. And he said you could get the omnibuses and some other things for reading
Oh wow,
material. And I was
that's
like,
pretty
that's a
cool.
great idea. And that way you don't have to, because I see people get omnibuses and they do look so neat stacked on your shelf. But I'm sitting there thinking, and then I look at the price of some of them. And I'm like, do I want this or do I want a comic book that's equivalent, a collectible that's equivalent to this amount
Right,
of money that I would spend on this omnibus? But if I can get them
right,
from the library and then be able to read them, I think I might be able to catch up on some of my reading and then reread some of the older, like I've never actually sat down and read like Fantastic Four, 1 to, up to the Burn Run, all
right.
of it. And I would love to do that.
Oh, that's interesting. Missing the entire epilogue page. Huh.
Hmm.
Seeing
And I
that would bother me.
And I remember I was collecting Marvel Tales. I got a lot of Marvel Tales back there because I wanted to read, the stories prior to what I was reading at that time. And I
Right.
remember getting a lot of those, and some of those had covers by Todd McFarlane because that's who was the Spider-Man guy at the time.
Yeah.
Especially
Those are some great covers. I love those McFarlane covers. I think there's actually on my shorts videos, there's a bunch of the McFarlane Marvel Tale covers. But yeah, they're beautiful for sure.
Do you do all your shorts all at one time, or do you like do them?
I do them. So I used to do. I was telling Alan. I asked Alan I'm like, Alan, have you ever had it tell you that you've reached your limit for uploads to YouTube for the day? And he was like, what? There's a limit? And I was like, yeah, apparently it's like 50 or 60 videos. You can't go past that.
So you've got a lot of stuff in the can in a sense. You got stuff that's sitting
uh,
there.
I don't now, but at a point there was a point where I was putting out 5, 6 shorts a day.
Yeah,
And
I know. I was watching them.
and now I've got down to where I'm just doing the one a day. It was for a point where, and then Alan and I were joking around because he's like, you can put a lot of thought into things, and then they just go and yank the algorithm on you. And I said, oh, I have books where I have all the times charted out and how many hits my videos were getting, and then I had it down to a science. And do you know what they're doing with shorts now? You put it out, and then 6 hours later, the algorithm pushes it. So if I want my shorts to be viewed by people at 7 o'clock in the morning, I have to put them on at 1 a.m. and then they get their push at 7 a.m.
Right. Okay. So the time you got it scheduled to come out is not the time it's being pushed.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I tried to do, I had these ideas in my head of things that I want to do. I just don't have the technical expertise to to get them to come out, because I see people, I'm like, okay, what can I do different than just showing?
I liked the one you did with the Alpha Flight with the death of Guardian. That was really cool.
And I saw
And I
somebody
like
talking.
the Thor one was really good too. The Thunderstruck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And see, those are the kind of ideas I had. I was like, ooh, I love like the beats of the music changing the picture, and that's got
Yeah.
it's got definite beats in there to change the picture. And I think, ooh, that'd be neat if he's like punching somebody or throwing,
Yeah.
that kind
What
of
are
thing.
you using to do your editing?
I use iMovie to do all my editing.
iMovie, okay.
So
you're an iPhone guy.
Yeah, I'm an iPhone guy. And we'll see, my the school system we work for has MacBook. And so
okay.
I use,
That kind of encourages you to be an iPhone guy.
it does. And so I use all their equipment to do most of my stuff. Like this is a company computer that I'm using right now, but we're able to take it home and use it, for those kind of things. I mean, they monitor everything that we do on it, but yeah, it had iMovie on it already. And I'm like, well, I might as well use iMovie.
No, that's cool. I was wondering, like the way you did the very first video that you did, the shout out where you did that sideways tilted with all of the different videos in the panels and whatnot. I was really impressed by that, and I was like, I wonder what he's using. I use VN editor. It's a V, the letter V, the letter N. I'm an Android user. I alluded to the fact that I might be an Android, but I'm an Android. I'm an Android user for phone. So
and
Podblast says Alan is great. I like Alan a lot. Alan's helped me out a super ton in learning and getting my way around YouTube, and he's always been super encouraging to me, and always excited to talk whenever I have free time. And I'm like, hey, you want to hang out? Or like, we don't always jump on YouTube and talk. A lot of times we're just talking on the phone, on the Instagram phone, because I can't call to Canada on my cell phone plan. The Instagram you can call, and it doesn't have any long distance.
Nostalgic Podcast is asking me what grades I teach. I used to teach. I started off teaching high school. I taught high school for actually, oh my goodness, the worst subject you could ever want to teach, or worst subject kids want is math. I'm actually a math teacher. So I started off in high school, and I taught high school for about 18 years. And I got the opportunity to go to middle school. And once I went to middle school, I was like, I should have been teaching middle school the entire time. I enjoyed it more than I did high school.
Right.
And then once the pandemic hit, I started teaching virtually, and I kind of never went back. I just stayed virtual.
Oh, okay.
So,
do you enjoy it more that way?
There's a lot less stress.
Yeah.
Because of management of the classroom type situation.
Right.
I liked teaching middle school. If I went back to teaching in the classroom, I would go back. I would want to go back to teaching middle school. So I've taught from 8th grade all the way up to 12th grade. When I was teaching high school, I would teach all different grades, primarily 9th and 10th grade. And I would teach algebra and geometry. Those are 2 classes I taught when I was in high school. And then another thing I like about teaching middle school is I only have to teach 8th grade math. When you're in high school, they may need you it's kind of more difficult to prepare over the summer because you don't know what you're going to teach. And they'll go, well, hey, you need to do this algebra 2 class. I'm like, okay, I'm not prepared for it, but let's, and you're that's the reason I wasn't reading as much at the time, because I was preparing, grading, doing all these things, trying to get ready for class, kind of get thrown into it. So
You're close. I'm on that coast. I'm in Oregon. So
Yeah, he must have saw my shirt that, okay, he's in Atlanta, Georgia.
yeah, yeah. No, I understand what you're saying about Podblast about, it's good a lot of times when I have Alan on because I don't know what to say and he'll just jump right in. I've had my buddy Trav in too before where he's got a background in radio and so he's just like he'll pick up the slack. I don't know. Do you watch the update for the hashtag shout out where my computer crashed? And Travis just without missing a beat just started talking about, so hey, have you been keeping up on? And I'm completely gone. Like the screen just goes black for me, and I'm in here just freaking out like piece of junk. Trying to get, because my phone I can use just my cellular service to do broadcasting, but I wanted to have that spinning wheel, so I had to use my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi is terrible. The area where my office is, I just have awful reception, and I was like, oh, this is a real gamble. And at one point the whole thing just went down.
He says it must be nice to have summers off. It is. That was one of the reasons I chose this career, was the amount of time off. I know Brian is going to know what I mean. My dad owned his own business, and you have very little time off because you got to be there. It's hard to get people to work for you, to be dependable, to be there to treat the business the way you want it to be treated.
Nobody cares as much as you do. Yeah.
Nobody cares as much as you do. And so, but my dad loved it. He loved the business that he had. I just didn't want to work as much as he did. Now, we got the summers off, but during the school year, it's a lot of work, a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. That's the reason, like I said before, when I started teaching, I kind of quit reading. I really didn't have the time to read and collect. It was all school, and probably about 5 to 8 years in was when I finally got my feet up under me. And then I was able to, it wasn't taking as much of my time in the afternoon. I was better able to manage my time.
You got a strategy down.
Yeah, had my strategy down, had my grading down, things like that. And so I was able to start getting back in a little bit and do a little bit more reading.
Your wisdom surpassed your intelligence.
Yes.
Going back to our D&D reference.
Going back to some of those D&D terms.
So, yeah, no, going back to the whole thing about, people have asked me like if I ever wanted to do a shop again, and I said the game has changed so much since I was doing it. I mean, and it hasn't been that long. It's only been, well, I mean, 12 years is not that long, but well, I guess it's more than 12 years, 13 years, 14 years. Anyway, the game has completely changed, and I always felt like I was just tied to it. I was chained to the business. There wasn't. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, and they asked me what I missed about it. I missed the customers, which is kind of the YouTube thing, kind of surrogate, kind of that kind of thing, where I get to talk to people about comics all the time and share my passions for it and see what they like, and that was what I really enjoyed about having a shop. So,
and you don't have to stop the conversation to go check somebody out. You can just continue on with the conversation.
Or worry about somebody stealing something, or
running after them. Yeah.
Yes. I don't think I'm in no shape to at this point in my life. I would have been like, oh, that sucks. But that was like probably 25 something years ago. I was, a little bit better shape.
I think and I'm watching some of these other people on YouTube. I think they're, like you said, you've got some people that have a background in radio. I think they have a much better presence on camera.
Right.
Their voice is better. When I first, this YouTube channel I've got for comic books really isn't my first YouTube channel. I've got a YouTube channel where I'm doing math. Nobody's gonna be watching that one, but especially for virtually, I'm forcing kids to go and watch that one. That's completely different than this one when people choose to come and listen to.
You gonna monetize that one?
No, I'm not monetizing that one. And I would listen to my voice because you hear yourself recorded and you're like, oh, my
Right.
God, you know,
Do I really sound like that? Yeah.
yes. It's the difference between you hearing yourself with your ears and then you recording it and listening. It sounds completely different. And so,
It's like my wife, she's like, why do you always, she's like, you always look like somebody's about ready to punch you, or do you think that that's a better angle for your face or something? You think you're not hiding anything from anybody, man.
so I learned a little bit about editing from doing that, but it was really, I have a bad habit of smacking my lips, and I had to figure out some way of editing that out, and I would edit those smacks out of me. So that was my first editing, was doing a little bit of editing on that. But again, you never had to show my face because the camera was above and it was just my hands, working out problems. So I never had to show my face, other than now I have to do some Google Meets, with people. But again, most of the time I've got a camera and they're asking me to work some problems for them. And it's not my face on camera, it's me working out problems again that way. So actually having the camera in your face is a different. Yeah.
No, I think like you're saying, a lot of people, they have a much better presence. Like right off the bat, Mike from Lunch Money Comics, man, his camera presence, and he said that his whole thing about the way that he speaks is his microphone is terrible, so he's actually yelling. My YouTube channel video sucks. One camera, no software, just Zoom or one camera. Audio is excellent. There you go. So more like, well, you got Nostalgic Podblast as your name, so I would think you're a podcast kind of guy. But yeah, no, I mean, I shoot all my stuff on my phone. I mean, that was like going back to the whole thing about Alan. I hit Alan up originally, and he was just like, just go for it. Just start making content. Don't edit. Don't do anything. Just start doing things and putting it out there, and eventually you'll get caught up to where you need to be. So.
And that's kind of when I was watching Alex the Comic Order. That's the one that got me to do one. He was that top 5. I said, okay, I'll just make a video and talk about my top 5, comics in my collection. And that's, like you said, I kind of talked with him. He said, just set up a camera, just start talking. Nobody, you're going to get people are going to be interested or not going to be interested, and I'm kind of used to that anyway, being a teacher. People are going to listen to you and not going to listen to you.
Right.
If they're interested, they're going to listen. So, but I've noticed that like Alex, the Comic Order, Lunch Money Comics, they also have nice radio voices. Their voices are, soothing. You like to listen to them, you can tell where I'm from by the way I talk sometimes. I'm like, yeah, you can tell.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
And it's like all sorts of words, the Dewin that I just did a shout out for. I think he's got very good camera presence. I think I commented one time, I said, there's a difference between the difference between your channel and my channel. Your channel is what you get when you get a well-read writer doing YouTube videos about comic books. Mine is what you get when you've got a redneck math teacher doing YouTube videos on comic books. So that's the difference between ours, because it seems like his is more spontaneous. He can just get there and just start talking about things. I sometimes have to write down some ideas of and remind myself what I want to talk about when I start to talk about a comic or a cover or something. I don't want to just go, I like it. I want to be a little bit more articulate about why I like this particular.
Yeah. No, I have a problem with that a lot of times. I don't have the dates and stuff down. So I'm like, a lot of times I'm like, I should probably get the dates down and everything. I mean, I know who the artist is, but, do a little more research. And a lot of times I'm just kind of like, I need some content. I'm just going to go roll with it. And we're just going to go, screw it. We'll do it live.
Yeah.
So
I've kind of got some things that people have seemed to like. They like that multi-age video I did.
Yeah, no, a lot of us were talking about that on Alan's channel that we really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And so I'm going to
Yeah.
try to do that more often. Dollar bin ones people love looking and seeing what I get out of the dollar bin. I mean, that seems to get a
If
lot
you
of
can
views.
incorporate some hunting into it, that's a big thing.
Mhm.
A lot of people like to see while you're, and it's so hard to do because you're trying to do it one-handed, and unless you get a GoPro or whatever. But that's I don't know how some people can do when I watch some guys hunting, and they're flipping through and they're doing giant chunks as they're flipping. That drives me insane. I have to look at every book. I'm that anal retentive that I want to know what I'm missing in between all those other books, so I can't just flip through chunks like that.
I did some shorts like that where I was holding them and I'd pull the book up. And one of the reasons I didn't keep the book up too long, I'm like, maybe this will encourage somebody to watch it again to see exactly what those books were.
I've noticed like some of the I showed the books, the Barry Windsor Smith storyteller books, and they have a lot of writing on the cover. And I've noticed that I'm getting rewatches because people are trying to read what the covers say, not just look at the artwork. So there's a lot of text on his covers, like quotes from each story. But yeah. I was gonna say something about the hashtag comic book shout out. That's the one thing that hasn't happened yet that I had hoped would happen. Was I wanted to inspire people who haven't taken the leap of doing a YouTube channel to make a video and get some promotion from the community right off the bat, And I was kind of like trying to put that out there, like, hey, if you've never done it, just what's the thing? Who's your favorite YouTube channel's favorite YouTube channel, right? I mean, I find that kind of stuff interesting. So, I'm trying to vary it up where it's like small channel that I really like is really big. Small channel that I like is really big.
Yeah, I was amazed at all sorts of words. I'm like, I'm really entertained by what he does. To me, sometimes I feel like I'm still in teacher mode. That's what one of my foreign exchange students said. He said, "Still sounds like you're in teacher mode, dude. You're giving a bunch of facts out." I was like, "Yeah, but some people are liking it. Some people, feel like they're actually learning something about this comic that they
that's a thing too. Yeah,
didn't know about." But have you gotten anybody else recently into comics? But just comics, not necessarily doing a YouTube channel, but said, "Hey,
into reading comics."
Then reading comics. Any converts, as I would say.
My list of converts is probably quite long from having had shops, but
not having a shop.
What's that?
But by not having a shop, just talking.
Yeah, just talking comics. Well, that's what I say. I say at the end of every video, share your love of comics. So I talk to everybody that I can about comic books, and if they show even the slightest interest, then I'll start talking about, well, you should read this. Actually, I've gotten people back into comics that you used to be. I have a friend, Pete, who used to collect, and shout out Pete if you're watching. But he used to collect, and he comes up and hangs out with Travis and I, and it's really funny because Travis and I have a vested interest in possibly at some point doing like a whatnot or something where we're going to be selling things and all this stuff. And Pete he's just like, I'm just happy to be here and nerd out with you guys and talk comics and learn what's going on. And now he's been reading a little more, and now he's able to like chime in with stuff that we haven't been reading or hadn't caught up on and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see that he's getting back into that.
Yeah,
but not an absolute brand new converts, probably not really. I mean, maybe when I was I haven't since I started doing YouTube. I haven't been playing Magic as much anymore. So, and I would go there and talk comics with people and show them my artwork and try to get people involved. Which
I've
I'm kind of
only
bummed out. There's a guy that has a first appearance of Iron Man that I met there. He said, "Oh yeah, we'll go and check it out. It's over in on the other side of the state. We'll go take a ride over there sometime. We have a house over there." He's like got a bunch of stuff. He he's a hoarder kind of,
Mhm.
and I'm like, sweet. And then he's just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. It was at Tales of Suspense. Was it 39?
39, first appearance of Iron Man.
Yeah, he's got a TOS 39. He said it's slabbed. He said it's a 5, I think.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm really interested. So he wanted to
Yeah.
trade it for Magic. He wanted me to trade Magic cards for it. I'm down with that.
I've only, like I said, we've had a bunch of foreign exchange students, and I've got one that got interested in comics, and he collects. He's from the Netherlands, and he doesn't have a lot of room, but he loved the design, and now he started watching the movies, and while he was over here, and that kind of got him into me, and watching the movies kind of got him into collecting comics, and he's got a nice little collection going, and he loves anything. I found some comics in a barn, and they were just absolutely destroyed. And I was like, nah, I think I'll just put these in the giveaway. I had that giveaway box at that time. I was thinking about putting out for Halloween. He said, no, I want that. I was like, do you want? I mean, it was like crushed. I said, well, maybe. I said, listen, you're going to be here for another week. Let's set a bunch of stuff that's heavy on it, and maybe we can get this thing flattened out a little bit, because this is dirty. But he loved it, and it was like it was a John Byrne She-Hulk, about 18 or 10, something like that. It's the one with the Flintstones homage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was that one. He had that one. That thing was, it was in a box, and I don't know what was sitting on top of it. My cousin had pulled out some old comics out of his barn. He's like, "Oh, I got these comics. You want these comics?" I said, "Sure, I'll take them. See if there's anything in there worth anything." And there really wasn't, but those were in there, and he wanted them. And I was like, "Hey, you
Not like the ones that Alex just found at a barn, right?
no, I like those."
The Submariner #1.
Well, speaking of that, I've got a new slab. I bought a new
Yeah,
slab.
I'd love to see it. Love to see it.
Speaking of Submariner #1.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make you big. Oh, there he is. All right, and a 5.5. That's nice.
Yeah, I think I got a pretty good deal on this 5.5.
That is nice. How
This
much you
was,
pay for it?
trying to think, $650.
That's not bad.
No,
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Love it.
This one. I'm still working on my list of things I wanted from 2022, and I've got 2 more on the list. One of them I don't think it's going to be a while before I get, but I want to. I'm looking at eBay right now for Avengers 57. That's the next one on the list, and then
57. Is that the Dane Whitman one?
no, that's First Vision.
Oh, First Vision. Okay.
So I want that one, and then I want a Fantastic Four 52. But that one, I can't find one that's within my price range.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what was the number that I showed you the first Ultron. That was 55.
That was 54, 55.
55. Yep. First full Ultron. I guess he's in cameo in another issue. So.
Yeah, I think 54 is the one that he was in. He was in cameo as the red scout, red hood, or not the red hood, but the red cowl. And then the next one is when he showed that it was Ultron. I thought,
Yeah, I hate that when they don't ship things in a timely manner. Definitely, for sure.
yeah, I mean, I get my stuff out pretty quick. I mean, I sell it, and I've got eBay boxes of stuff. Got like 3 long boxes of stuff that I've got listed on eBay, and so I'm pretty quick. I can just go right back there, pull it out, print a label, stick it in, some cardboard and tape it up and send it out. So I get my stuff out pretty quick. But I've heard of some people only shipping once a week. That, hey, I'm just going to sit it here and I only go to the post office on Mondays or Thursdays or whatever day they go to the post office.
Well, some people have demanding jobs that they can't. I mean, I get it, but
I get it too. I mean,
it's frustrating.
Luckily, my post office is just I can walk to it. So,
well, there you go. That's easy.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. So I can get them out pretty quick. Everybody seems to be happy with it. Wow, I got this back. I got this fast. I'm like, yeah, that's sitting right there. I'm ready to move this stuff, and so I can get more stuff in.
I was feeling bad about shipping out Brandon's his artwork for his. I was like, on 3rd of July, I was like, all right, you have the day off. You can get this package up. You can get it out the door. So I'm excited to see. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's got some other goodies in there. I'm excited to see his reaction and try to get him to do like a live unboxing.
Yeah, he says the podcast is saying he's getting a little impatient. I can understand. I had a friend of mine that wanted me to sell a Pokemon card. I don't know anything about Pokemon. And I said, well, I'll list it. He said, yeah, this thing's worth like $130. I said, okay, is that what you want me to list it for? He's like, yeah. And like, I think 14 minutes later, the dang thing sold. But I printed out the label and it wanted me to fill out a customs form. I didn't really understand it. And I felt like
for another country?
It wasn't going to another country. It was going to a military base, but it didn't tell you what state the military base was on. Like when I went to the post office and I said, well, where's this going? And they said, well, I can tell you it's going to this base. And I think they thought it was an Air Force base, but it wouldn't tell me what state the base is in. It would just tell them how much it would cost to ship it there. And they wanted me to fill out all this custom form and it wouldn't fit. I finally made it fit in a letter size with really thin cardboard. And I tried to, put it to where it was really, really safe. And he was getting a little impatient because I went down there once and I was like, well, what other way can I ship this? And they said, well, you can ship it as it's almost the size of a package. It will have to be shipped as a package. I'm like, well, how much will that be? Well, that'll be $43. I'm like, well, that's going to cut a lot in my profit. I said, is there another way of doing it? And they said, well, you can send it a letter. I said, but it's not going to be tracked. They said, no. I said, oh, I'm just going to take the chance. And so I put in that letter and they said, it doesn't matter if it goes overseas. Cause I think the reason they wanted a customs form is because they wasn't sure where that person might be deployed at any moment. And so yes, they could be deployed overseas. And then that has to, the customs form has to be filled out. But he got it. And I was thinking, I took so long trying to get that to him. I'm probably going to get dinged. He's probably going to give me a bad review or something, but no, he gave me a great review. He said, oh, he went above and beyond to get this to me and everything. I'm like,
that's
good. But I learned my lesson about checking the printout and the form of what it's going to be before I said, I'm never going to, I can see why people don't want to do, customs forms and stuff over. Yeah. I mean, we experienced the same thing with foreign exchange students. We used to send stuff and it's just such a hassle. And I know Aussie Comic Collector one time in one of his videos, he's like, yeah, I bought all this stuff from this seller. And then at the end of it, when it goes to total up and he was getting my address, And I told him where I lived. He said, I'm just canceling the order. He's like, well, why are you canceling the order? I don't ship overseas. And he's like, can y'all tell me why it's such a big hassle to ship to Australia? And I gave him this big long list of here's the reasons why. When we ship stuff overseas, one, there's a lot of paperwork to fill out. It's expensive, super expensive. It's got to go through customs. There's a large percent of chance that it's not going to get where you want it to go, because we would send stuff all the time, and there's probably about a 40% chance that it's not going to get there.
Right, it gets opened up and searched through, and they take what they want out of it, right? Yeah,
exactly. That was the next thing. I was like, we've had so many packages. They just take a knife and they just open that thing up, and we may have had a shirt or something in there. It's all knifed up and cut up, and they just throw it back in there, put a piece of tape on it, and like you said, they take what they want and then ship the rest of it if they don't want it to you. So, yeah, that's the reason why people don't want to ship things overseas. It's too much hassle.
I worked for a while for a company where I was flying a lot, and my boss and I did a lot of trade shows and stuff, and he had all these horror stories. He's like, I had brand new pairs of jeans with the tags still on them, and he got to his destination and not anymore. No more jeans in there. And go through the luggage. Oh, we have to go through, randomly check this luggage. Oh, those look nice. We'll take those.
Yes. Podcast saying Australia is a hassle and is so pricey.
Yeah. Well, you got to feel for those guys that are fans, though, and want to collect over there. But I get it. I have got to be up for work pretty early, so I'm probably going to see if we can wind this down. And I appreciate you coming, though. It was really fun.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
anytime you want to, if I got time, I'd love to get on again.
Yeah, for sure. I was trying to get Obito to pop on tonight too, but I guess he must have had something going on. But yeah, you are more than welcome. If you see that I'm streaming and you want to hop on, just message me, and I'll get you a link, and we'll get you on for sure. And really appreciate you being part of the whole hashtag comic book shout out thing as well. And God bless us. Thanks for the feed. You guys are cool. And he says, I'm Chance. So your name is Chance? Nice to meet you, Chance. Oh. He's all, Pod Blast, I think you've been on just about every one of these live streams that I've done. So I really do appreciate you hanging out and watching the whole thing. So, but Mr. Akins, if you want to hang out for a minute after we end, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to say the last thing we always say. Share your love of comics with everyone you meet. You never know where it may lead you. If you ask Comics with Bueller, he says it might lead you to a woman. So. I don't know, highly unlikely, but all right, guys. Thank you so much. There's a small chance. All right, we're gonna hit end here, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Try to hit end here. There we go.